Part 71. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 702. This mission was just as Lily guessed. Although she entered the mission in time and could not fulfill the original owner's wish to have a new life and have her own life, at least she saved the reputation of the Gan family and vented her anger on Lily Gan's son. Letting Yuan Ziozu suffer the consequences, Shen Chenyi didn't end up well either. It was because of Cam Lily's bad temper that the mission was completed. Thinking of the way Li Yangzi held her hand when she entered the mission, Lily could still vaguely feel his lips falling on her forehead, and she slowly began to regret it. She was not wrong for being stubborn. He didn't want to recognize the person, so after returning to the starry sky, he took the initiative to approach Li Yangzi. I figured out what happened before, and you helped me. I'm very grateful, but why can't you just tell me directly? At that time, Li Yangzi had nothing to do with her. It was understandable that he didn't want to mention Lily. In fact, she had already figured it out herself. The mention at this time was just because she was a little depressed about Li Yangzi's concealment. If anything happens in the future, don't hide it, just tell me directly. Okay, she had no secrets in front of Li Yangzi, but Li Yangzi was like a fog to her. She didn't know his origins and identity at all. This was also the reason why Lily felt uneasy and wanted to hide from him after her relationship with Li Yangzi changed. She hoped that Li Yangzi would stop hiding something from her. It was just a casual comment, but she didn't expect the words to come out. Li Yangzi originally stretched out his arm to hug her, but he immediately stopped at her waist. Although his expression did not change, and he still held her in his arms as usual the next moment, Lily still felt keenly that there is still something unsaid. There was a trace of guilt in Lily's heart, and she felt a little soft because she didn't pay much attention to him after returning from these two missions. Suddenly she became hard again. She was held by Li Yangzi and sat on his lap, staring at him without saying a word. I come from another time and space. Zia, you have entered the mission so many times. I have been to many worlds. The world I am in is probably similar to the world of martial arts and immortality that you have entered. Li Yangzi felt the tension in Lily's body. Stiff, like touching a cat. He gently stroked her waist and back. In his previous time and space, everyone was dedicated to studying for greater strength, but in the end of the Dharma era when spiritual power was scarce, fragile humans were dedicated to pursuing the use of foreign objects and researching some weird things. Psychological books said that such actions can make a person calm down quickly. He felt Lily's soft body leaning against his arms. Li Yangzi lowered his eyelids to block the thoughts in his eyes. He had never said such words before. Therefore, Lily endured it again and did not grab his hand away. I once had enemies and was sealed by others. In order to seal me, I was divided into 7. When I woke up, I discovered what was missing in addition to the unevenness of the soul body. Li Yangzi's strength has also been greatly reduced, so in order to restore himself, he created these worlds and found some fragile souls to work for him. Firstly, he used these people to find his split soul, and secondly, in order to complete the task, Li Yangzi can collect some mind bodies to supplement his strength. On the contrary, Li Yangzi can allow those who complete the task to exist indefinitely even after death. Many people will be happy to do such a deal. Lily is just one of them. It's just that Li Yangzi didn't expect that he would like this originally inconspicuous soul in the end. I only discovered this after merging with Ye Changjin and others. At first, I only felt that my strength was reduced. Some memories were also lost with the separation of the soul and body. I have very powerful enemies. I won't say it, just because I don't want to be involved. Lily was already angry about what happened to Li Yangzi. Li Yangzi had planned to tell her some more things. She might be angry if he told her things in batches, but it would definitely not have a big impact on her if he told her things at once. After telling her the whole story and the matter of taking back the souls of Ye Changjin, He King Han, and others, Lily then remembered the specious words Li Yangzi said after she met He King Han during the mission. When Lily asked about He King Han, Li Yangzi only said that protecting her was his original responsibility. Lily was moved by this at that time. She never thought that He King Han might be another one of him who was split and sealed. 1/7 of the time, she could have had the chance to ask the truth at that time, but because of Li Yangzi's words, she subconsciously misunderstood. When Lily thought about it now, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but twitch. She couldn't blame Li Yangzi. After all, He King Han had never in a way, he was not wrong. He didn't tell lies at first, but he just didn't say everything completely. The rest was all her own imagination and had nothing to do with Li Yangzi. Then you tell me now, aren't you afraid of hurting me? Just after she figured out what happened to Li Yangzi and learned so much about it, Lily couldn't help but glance at Li Yangzi. His eyes were calm and unwavering, and his deep gaze seemed to be like two abyss with no bottom. Now you want to know, so I tell you, and because you are my partner she will face these people and things sooner or later. He used the word partner instead of saying that Lily was his person or his close partner. Lily's face looked a little better, and she guessed that the reason why Li Yangzi told her these words at this time was that she had made up her mind. She is a partner. When encountering these things in the future, she and Li Yangzi will face them together. This was the first time that Li Yangzi really talked about the future of the two, not the past. Although the two had a seemingly invisible intimacy, it was always because of their different identities that Lily did not dare to truly let go of her feelings for Li Yangzi. Lily's expression slowly softened, and her originally stiff body gradually softened. She no longer sat on Li Yangzi like before, but her body was always slightly resisting. She leaned on Li Yangzi's chest, and Li Yangzi's eyes flashed. He reached out and put her in his arms. The reason why he didn't say these things in the past was just because he didn't pay attention to the enemies he just talked about very powerfully. The people he was planning to deal with alone would not cause trouble to him and Lily, so he was not prepared to say it. He had no intention of putting Lily in any danger. He could endure being sealed, but that was because the elders had no way to eliminate him. But he couldn't bear anything unexpected happening to Lily. Now, because of Yun Munan's actions, the elders already know the fact that he has woken up. He is not afraid of these old men, but he doesn't want these words to be told to Lily from others. Rather than letting what these old men say anger Lily, it would be better for him to say it himself. At least he can choose the way he says it, compared to the trouble this group of people will create for him. Li Yangzi felt that if Lily was angry with him, the consequences would be more troublesome. He made her angry before, which was a little fun between close lovers. Li Yangzi understood the degree of it. Once it goes too far, it is not easy for a person with Lily's personality to win her heart. The same is true if she is really cold-hearted. It is even more difficult to recover. Then your injury is much better now, he said before that Yun Munan caused him a little trouble, which even made Li Yangzi feel troublesome. It can be seen that there is really something wrong. Lily grabbed his wrist with her backhand palm, asked. Ever since he told what happened to Li Yangzi last time, Lily has returned to the starry sky on 2 missions and has not been close to him. For Lily, these were just 2 missions, but for Li Yangzi, who had been waiting for her to complete the mission and return to the starry sky, it was a long time. Now that she heard that she cared about him, Li Yangzi held her fingers tightly. His palms gradually pushed her into his arms. It's not hurt, it just splits my strength. His voice became softer and softer, and finally his voice was gradually submerged in the lips of the two of them. Now that she knows that the task she completed can bring benefits to Li Yangzi, Lily also wants to get into the task quickly. Although her task is completed this time, the achievable results are not exactly satisfactory to Gamble. Therefore, Lily Gan did not send her blessing. Gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 87, out of 100. Appearance, 91, out of 100. Physical strength, 77, 100 full points. Force, 68, out of 100 points. Spirit, 82, out of 100. Reputation, 35, out of 100 points. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique, Star Body Training Technique. Specialties, Advanced Cooking Skills, Advanced Acting Skills, 5 Elements, and Bagua, slightly dabbled in. Charisma, 65, out of 100. Mark, Royal True Dragon Spirit. When entering the mission, Li Yangzi's hands were still wandering around her waist, and his eyes showed very clear intentions. The two had intimate actions during the mission. But she has never done anything further in the starry sky, Lily doesn't know why. When she felt that he deftly opened the corner of his clothes and dug in, her ears felt a little hot. She kissed his lips. When she felt that his expression was getting more and more dangerous, she whispered, "I want to enter the mission, early after completing the mission, don't you still have enemies?" She was not very resistant, but at this moment she asked to enter the mission. Li Yangzi fell silent for a moment, feeling as if he had shot himself in the foot. He had just told Lily that he had a powerful enemy. If he tells Lily again now that he is actually not afraid of these people and wants Lily to stay in the starry sky, he wonders if Lily will fall out. The words were spoken by himself, especially after he had just finished speaking. Although Li Yangzi looked calm at this time, his eyes gradually narrowed. The hand he was gently stroking on Lily's back and waist gradually became stronger. As if he wished he could rub her into his body. Being intimate with her during a mission was different from being in the starry sky. Li Yangzi pursed her lips tightly. Although her expression did not change, the aura on her body gradually became terrifying. Lily pressed tightly against his body, and when she felt dangerous and a little uneasy under this air pressure, Li Yangzi snorted softly, and the next moment Lily closed her eyes and fell asleep. "So Lily, I love you like a mouse loves rice. You are my heart, you are my liver, you are 3/4 of me, you are my lungs, you are my stomach, you are me, the red roses in my heart." A boy with a strong voice yelled loudly downstairs. Along with a burst of violent music, people seemed to be talking around, making Lily reluctantly open her eyes. Eyes came. In her dream, she was still thinking about Li Yangzi's scary look when she entered the mission. At that time, it was as if he wanted to press her into his body. When Lily was still a little uncomfortable, such music sounded in her ears, and there was a hand. Leng Huayu slapped Lily on the face. "Hey, Zo Lily. Your rock star has come to confess to you, how can you still sleep?" Being suddenly photographed on the face, Lily's body suddenly tensed up, and her originally chaotic thoughts suddenly became clear. She quickly opened her eyes, reached out and grabbed the palm that was slapping her face, and a girl screamed in pain, "What are you doing, Zo Lily? You scratched me and it hurts." The girl who was bent over and patting her face showed pain in her eyes. Struggling constantly, Lily resisted the dizziness she felt just after waking up, and looked around at the scene. She seemed to be in a girl's dormitory. There were a total of 4 bunk beds stacked on top of each other in the small room. On the wire bed, she took a breath and slowly let go of the girl's hand she held, and the girl took her hand back. While rubbing his pinched wrist, he complained. "Fen Ning came here to confess to you after all. Even if you don't like it, don't sleep so sweetly. I came to wake you up with good intentions, but it hurt me so much." When she heard the word Fen Ning, Lily's heart started to ache for no reason. This should be the residual feeling of the original owner. She took a few deep breaths, and her heart that was beating wildly after being suddenly woken up slowly calmed down. She lightly apologized to the complaining girl, "I'm sorry. I love you, love you." The voice of the person downstairs sounded good, but he opened his throat and roared wildly. Coupled with the weird guitar sound and the booing from the people around him, Lily couldn't hear it. The corners of his mouth kept twitching. She sat up, put her hands together and wiped her face. After she just woke up, she still had some unresolved thoughts that made her upset. Coupled with the howling of ghosts and wolves, it made her ears buzz. Lily turned around and entered the toilet without thinking. When she came out, she already had a bucket full of water in her hand. This body is young and has a thin and weak build. Lily carried the bucket to the window with some difficulty. Several girls in the dormitory who were lying by the window were shocked when they saw her like this. Before they had time to ask her what she wanted to do, there was a swish sound and a sudden sound. She poured the entire bucket of water down. "You are my rose, you are mine, ah bah bah." The man downstairs had long hair, a pair of cool sunglasses, leather pants, and a black vest, revealing a large area of fair skin. The skinny boy was splashed in front of him. He was just singing loudly when a lot of water poured into his mouth, causing him to vomit subconsciously. His sunglasses were washed off his lips, and his long hair clung to his cheeks. He looked very funny and had long lost his previous look. The guitar he was holding in his hand had a slightly different voice after being washed away. The boy's whole body feeling a little dazed, he subconsciously reached out to brush his hair and looked up. Everyone in the girls' dormitory who was lying by the window watching the excitement fell into dead silence when they saw this scene. After a long time, some people started to laugh softly. "Zobehi, I won't give up. You are my woman." The young man was poured a bucket of water on his head, but he did not give up. Instead, he raised his head and looked up. He did not sing or make any noise anymore. Coming, Lily carried the bucket back to the toilet, took off her shoes again and lay back on the bed. When the girls lying around saw the scene and Lily's calm expression, they all bit their lips and wanted to laugh. He looked a little embarrassed. "Lily, don't you like Fenning? I think he's pretty good, he's outgoing, and some girls in school also like him." A girl sat next to Lily's bed and pushed her. Lily, she opened her eyes helplessly. There were many people in the dormitory at this moment, and she must not be able to accept the plot. Seeing this girl with a baby face, Lily sighed. Puppy love is prohibited in school. When the water was first splashed, Lily could clearly see the banner hanging on the building opposite the girls' dormitory: "High school students are forbidden to fall in love." When she brought the words out, she blocked what the girl was about to say. "Living." Seeing that she didn't want to talk much today, everyone stopped making a sound. A few people gathered together and talked lively about the young man named Fenning's courtship. It was dark now. It has already been bright and bright. Since it is high school, it should be the class period at this time, but there are still so many people in the dormitory at this time, and today should be the weekend. Lily lay on the bed for a long time, until the group of girls met one by one to either go shopping or play. The dormitory became quiet and the noise from downstairs gradually disappeared. Lily then closed her eyes and began to absorb the plot. There was a businessman named Chen in Beijing who was engaged in jewelry and diamond business. He accumulated a large fortune in his early years. He is also very philanthropic. He and his wife only have a daughter named Chen Lele. Chen Lele was born in such a wealthy family, and she is beautiful and outstanding. She has learned piano and dance since she was a child. She has a good temperament and is the darling of the upper class. She is like a princess. She was high and mighty, but on the year of her 18th birthday, a female friend of her father's who had been dating for many years passed away. Before she died, she entrusted her only daughter to Chen's father. Chen's father regarded this beautiful and confident daughter as his own. He loved to pamper this girl who was 1 year older than Chen Lele, and even said at her 20th birthday party that he would give her half of the Chen family in the future. The Chen family originally belonged to Chen Lele. But after this girl came to the Chen family, Chen Leilei's status as a little princess changed. Her father, who used to dote on her, began to hate her. Even her childhood sweetheart boyfriend who grew up with her was discovered by her to be involved in this. The father recognized her as his goddaughter, and now the Chen family was divided into half by her. Chen Leilei became distorted after knowing the news, and she began to deal with this girl. Unfortunately, in the end, she was not as good as others, and was set up by this girl to be gang raped, and these photos were released on the spot during her 20th birthday party. This move ruined Chen Leilei's life. From then on, she changed from the darling of the upper class to a well-known slut in the upper class. Everyone hated her and despised her. In the past, everyone wanted to marry her as their daughter-in-law. Now when those ladies talked about her, they had a look of disgust on their faces. She was hooked on drugs by the goddaughter her father recognized. Father Chen was very disappointed with Chen Leilei. As a result, her financial support was cut off, and she became addicted to drugs. In order to get money to use drugs, she chose to degenerate and have sex. She angered the mother who loved her most to death and gave up on herself. Chen Leilei eventually contracted AIDS and died in pain. When Chen Leilei died, she was still very young. She was not yet 25 years old. After her death, the story did not end. Instead, she returned to 7 years ago. When she was 18 years old, she hated this was her father's goddaughter, and she didn't find out until she died that this so-called goddaughter turned out to be her father's illegitimate daughter. Thinking that her life had been ruined by this woman, she was so angry at her mother that she got addicted to drugs and ruined herself. Chen Leilei was very unwilling to live her whole life. Once she was reborn, she was ready to take revenge. She wanted to take revenge on Chen's father. Chen's father had not followed the rules and had given birth to that bitch with another woman before giving birth to her. She wanted to take revenge on that bitch and make that bitch die a bad death. She had abused her in her previous life. She was addicted to drugs and vowed to be a famous lady in her life. She wanted to impress everyone. She worked hard every step of the way, and before the illegitimate daughter of Chen's father came in addition to learning dance and piano, she also learned English, French, German, Japanese, Russian, and other languages. She works hard to enrich herself. Because she has the memory of her previous life, she has a maturity and stability that is not found in her age, and a mature charm that is not found in girls, which can attract everyone who sees it. The hearts of those who have passed her. Chen Leilei wanted to take revenge on the scumbag man who dumped her and the illegitimate daughter. She became a better person. She seduced the scumbag man into loving her crazily, but she ignored her. She hated the Chen family. Her father was ruthless and unjust to her, and even gave away half of the Chen family that was supposed to be hers to others. Chen Leilei felt very unwilling to do so. She wanted to destroy the Chen family. In order to destroy the Chen family, she laid many traps. It's just that no matter how scheming a person is, she still has a fragile side. When she was plotting against her biological father and almost failed, she met Fen Ning when she was at her lowest. At that time, Fen Ning was already a secret special operations force in China. After rescuing her, because this girl had the feeling of his first love, even though he was on a mission, he still found a way to send Chen Leilei to the hospital. In her previous life, Chen Leilei had experienced all kinds of scumbag men. Without exception, all these men wanted was her body. But now she met Fen Ning, a mature, steady, handsome and tough soldier. That sense of security made her feel she felt unparalleled love. She could no longer look down on the fiancé who was the right match for her. Besides, that scumbag had been touched by her half-sister in her previous life. She found it disgusting. He also betrayed her. Chen Leilei didn't even bother to have him. In comparison, Fen Ning has a tough guy temperament, which is really intoxicating, so she takes the initiative to seduce. She had many men in her previous life, so she has the purity of a girl and the charm to the bone. She's charming, plus she's pretty. She was very good, but after taking the initiative, Fen Ning still had a different feeling towards her. Fen Ning was from a very high background, after he sympathized with Chen Lele. Knowing that Chen Lele was going to deal with the Chen family, he helped her a lot. With the help of Fen Ning, Chen Lele finally defeated the Chen family in one fell swoop. She drove Chen's father crazy, ruined the Chen family, sent her half-sister to be a prostitute, and had her injected with high-concentration drugs. After her reputation in the upper class was ruined, she grew the resentment from my previous life. Although the Chen family is a business family, especially Chen Lele's ruthless behavior towards her father and half-sisters, which made the Feng family quite displeased with her, Chen Lele used thousands of methods. Using the wisdom she learned in her previous life and this life, she quickly suppressed the Feng family, and finally married into the Feng family. After Fen Ning made great achievements, she became the general's wife. But this time, the body Lily entered was neither Chen Lele's half-sister nor someone related to Chen Lele. She is Fen Ning's first love who appears in the plot. Compared with Chen Lele, who was born into wealth, Zhou Beihi's background was much simpler. She had a cowardly mother and a pair of younger siblings. In addition, she also had a gambling and violent father. What she remembers the most is that her father would kill him whenever he didn't get what he wanted. Her mother was very cowardly and didn't even have the courage to protect her daughter. Zhou Beihi grew up in such a living environment and developed a cowardly character similar to her mother's. She originally longed to study hard and go to college. In the future, when she had the ability to find a good job, she could take her mother and siblings out and prevent them from being beaten and scolded by her father. She has been working hard. But in her senior year of high school, she fell in love with Fen Ning. This changed her life's destiny. Fen Ning was born in a powerful family, but he kept it secret. At that time, Fen Ning was rebellious and arrogant. His dream was to be a rock singer. Zhou Beihi had never had anyone who was so kind to her in her life. No one said anything. She loved her too much and no one sang for her. Although she was a little overwhelmed at first by Fen Ning's persistent stalking, the girl still liked the feeling of being cherished very much. It didn't take long for her to become Fen Ning's girlfriend. At that time, Fen Ning often took her to every corner of Kyoto on a motorcycle, played guitar to her, and took her to do all kinds of romantic things. The two of them kissed in front of the flowers and under the moon, and gave their bodies to each other. At that time, Zhou Beihi had almost forgotten that her ideal was to be admitted to college. However, Fen Ning's depravity made the Feng family unable to bear it any longer, and they found Zhou Beihi. No one would think that their child is born so bad, and the same goes for the Feng family. They do not think that Fen Ning brought Zhou Beihi bad, but that it was Zhou Beihi who brought Fen Ning astray. Fen Ning's background in such a family, the eldest grandson has a bright future. For the sake of Fen Ning's future, the Feng family found Zhou Beihi and asked her to leave Fen Ning. Zhou Beihi didn't know Fen Ning's background until that time. Although she was born poor, she also had her own integrity. She was not interested in Fen Ning's money and status. During their relationship, she didn't use Fen Ning's money. Even though she was poor, when she and Fen Ning were together, the most they did was ride bikes to see the stars and the moon. Apart from giving her songs, Fen Ning never gave her expensive jewelry, but now the Fen Ning family thinks she is greedy. Zhou Beihi couldn't stand the Feng family's money. What's even worse is that the Feng family found Zhou Beihi's father and helped him settle some gambling debts. The condition was that Zhou's father would keep a close eye on his daughter. Zhou's father owed a sum of money at that time and was being pursued by loan sharks. Now that he heard such conditions, he naturally agreed in a hurry. Regardless of Zhou Beihi's resistance, he married her to a 30-year-old man from a village in the capital for 5,000 yuan in the name of receiving a betrothal gift. A middle-aged carpenter, Zobehi broke her legs and imprisoned her when Zobehi refused to obey. Zobehi resisted, but in the end she couldn't resist at all. She thought about asking Fenning for help, but Fenning was sent away by her family. Arrived in the army. She was raped by a strange middle-aged man and her life was worse than death. And because she was not a virgin, this middle-aged man treated her very badly. After the marriage, he beat her violently and beat her several times to the point of death, until 10 years later. Her life was numb and she was forced to give birth to 2 sons and 1 daughter. When she sent her son to the hospital when he was sick, she met Fenning. Fenning was already with Chen Lele at that time. Chen Lele was because of the Chen families she had a cold and a fever, and the two happened to bump into each other. Fenning looked at her as if she were a stranger, with no hatred or joy, that kind of numb and calm expression. It hurt Zobehi's heart. She felt so inferior in front of Fenning that she didn't even dare to raise her head. He was still brave, and she was 1 year younger than him. But he is already as old as ever. This young man left his growth to Zobehi, but left his maturity to Chen Lele. Back then, Zobehi didn't want Fenning to take care of him. As long as his so-called romantic feelings left a bad impression on Fenning in the end, Zobai didn't even dare to tell him about the situation at home at that time. She endured it alone and shouldered all the hardships. Pain of. But Chen Lele got everything from him. Fenning helped her when she was in trouble. What she got was Fenning, who was mature and steady and knew how to take care of his female companion. Instead of the young man who only knew howling songs, she got a lot of financial and power help from Fenning to defeat Chen's father for her. They were both Fenning's lovers, and they both sacrificed their emotions and bodies, but unfortunately they ended up being different. It's completely different. Zobehi felt very unwilling, and she sighed at her lost youth. She hated her ruined life. The plot of her first love was never forgotten in her heart. She wanted to taste it again. She wanted to have her own life, even if she and Fenning ended up breaking up, but she still had to tell Fenning openly that it was not because of her greed for money. Even if she wanted to break up, she would have to be upright and not leave a bad impression on others. There was even a chance to explain at the end. It's just that the two met too early and knew too little about the definition of love, so they missed it in the end. It ended up like that. Although Fenning still gained a beauty in the end, it was his first love. But he lived a life of extreme pain. After receiving the plot, Lily couldn't help but stretched out her hand to touch her forehead, with a bit of a wry smile on her face. What the original owner was most unwilling to accept was that when she met Fenning many years later, she couldn't open her mouth. I couldn't get close to him, and I was so aggrieved by the calmness in his eyes. I met the wrong person at the wrong time. The original owner's wish was to fall in love with Fenning again, even if it didn't work out in the end. Yes, but others shouldn't interfere and ruin it. Even if she wants to break up in the end, she must tell Fenning personally. She doesn't need Zoe's father to control her life for her anymore. If there is no way to be with Fenning, her first love will still be with her. If she is destined to miss it, then she must stick to her original goal, go to college, and take out her left mother and a pair of younger siblings. She wants to complete her own life path without being interfered with at every turn. In this mission, Li Yangzi finally sent herself to the most suitable time. It was not after the incident. Zobehi was just in her second year of high school at this time. It was the stage when Fenning was pursuing her. In less than 2 weeks, Zobehi she would nod and agree to Fenning's pursuit. Lily didn't expect that she had experienced a lot of killing and revenge missions in the past. This time, she met a mission person who only had such a small request. She breathed a sigh of relief and also he felt a little pity for the original owner. The original owner was really a very good girl. She didn't ask for much, she just asked for a love that would have a beginning and an end. She didn't make any excessive demands, such as retreating into the Feng family or breaking up Fen Ning and Chen Lele. All she wants is her own life. For Lily, this mission is just like a vacation. Except that Zoe's father is still a threat, this mission is almost not difficult for Lily. After being prepared, it would be easy for her not to marry the middle-aged carpenter. Fen Ning was already pursuing Zhou Beihe at this time. If she wanted to be with him, she would have to marry him at the right time when the Feng family came to her door. He said breaking up was the perfect time. Lily thought about it and couldn't help but cover her chest and laugh. The door of the dormitory that was originally closed was suddenly pushed open. Lily turned around subconsciously and saw a tall figure with tied hair sneaking in. He was about to take a step forward. When he found that there was no one else in the dormitory but Lily, he was stunned for a moment, quickly retracted his head, and then quickly ducked in again. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 703. Zhou Beihe, you are my woman, promise me to be my girlfriend. Fen Ning had changed into a white shirt at this moment. He had obviously taken a shower and his long hair had been tied up. He was not a handsome boy type, with a faint green shadow on his chin due to his young age. He does not have the maturity, stability, and reassuring reliability that he would have after many years. Instead, he has a funny and nondescript appearance that makes people look at him. She couldn't help but want to laugh. He was wearing the low-crotch pants that were popular among Kazakh and Korean youths at this period. He looked a little arrogant. Lily frowned and looked him up and down, and nodded reluctantly. All right. Fen Ning opened his mouth. He originally wanted to speak again, but he didn't expect Lily to open her mouth and agree to him. He was stunned for a moment, staring at Lily with wide eyes, unable to recover. Fen Ning met Zhou Beihe at a concert he held. At that time, the school held an event. He took his guitar and stood in the middle, yelling and screaming. Teenagers of this period were very public. When he was willful, many classmates booed with him, some yelled along with him, and some opened their mouths to laugh. When the atmosphere was warm, only Zhou Beihe sat quietly and listened to his singing. At that time, Fen Ning felt it was as if I had found a soulmate, and I was sure that she was the woman for me. After spending a few days to find out Zhou Beihe's information, Fen Ning launched a pursuit. In addition to creating the romance he learned from TV in the school, he also had his guitar moved to the school building today. I started playing with Lily, but I didn't expect that Lily poured a basin of cold water on her pocket. The pursuit was not as smooth as I imagined. Fen Ning was at this age when he refused to admit defeat and was brave enough to fight fiercely, so he became more determined to capture Lily. He originally thought that she had already poured water on him, and it might cost more to catch her again. Time. Unexpectedly, as soon as she opened her mouth and before she could finish reciting all the love poems she had memorized in the future tense, Lily had already agreed. You agreed? Fen Ning was stunned, not as passionate as he imagined. There was no Lily in his imagination. After listening to him reciting the love poem, Lily jumped into his arms excitedly and shyly and said everything she wanted. Even her expression was so calm. Fen Ning anxiously took out a book from his shirt pocket. A piece of paper came. I haven't finished reading yet, why did you agree? Lily frowned. Seeing him frowning, with a puzzled and vaguely depressed look on his face, she reached out and took out the paper he was holding. It was a detailed plan. The various steps Fen Ning had to do today were written down above. The first step was to sing a love song to impress her, and then the various choices were methodically used to represent Zhou Beihe's mood, such as being shy and hiding, or happily agreeing to go downstairs. Come on, there is another way to reject him, but there are 3 words written in brackets after the rejection: impossible. An exclamation point was added after the word. This guy is quite confident. And these options represent what he wants to do next. For example, If he agrees to his request, he will drive him to the outskirts of the capital to watch the stars at night, or if he refuses, he will continue to pursue her in the form of a love poem. But because of Lily's action of splashing water, all the options he had made were marked with a big cross with a red pen. Next, Fen-Ning made preparations again. First, he sneaked into the girls' dormitory and read out love poems. Next, Lily was moved and threw herself into his arms. Then, as usual, she watched the stars. "Look, I've made preparations, and I'm very sincere," Fen-Ning squatted in front of Lily. He pointed angrily at the various conditions listed on the paper. These were all methods he learned from his buddies to pick up girls, but after a long time of preparation, he failed to do anything except sing a song. "I even got splashed with water when I sang a song. That aunt downstairs in the dormitory still wants me to throw myself to the ground." His young face now didn't have the composure and calmness of the Fen-Ning Zobei he remembered seeing many years later, but instead had the greenness of a teenager. His appearance is not as handsome as the popular cream man, nor does he have an unworldly temperament. He is squatting in front of Lily, his arm muscles tightening the white shirt, drawing out the lines of strength. Lily stuffed the paper back into Fen-Ning's hand, pushed him in the face, and motioned for him to sit further away. "Then you can start over again and read according to the above, and I will listen." Fen-Ning held her hand and stared at her with a dull expression. Lily sat for a long time and looked at him in surprise. "Do you still read it?" "I won't read it anymore. You are my woman anyway. You promised me that we would watch the stars at night." Unexpectedly, she threw herself into his arms. Lily even looked shy when she mentioned that she promised to be his girlfriend. Fen-Ning was disappointed for a while, but he quickly cheered up again. Lily is not the Zhou Lily who was submissive to Fen-Ning in the plot. Zhou Beihe was very submissive to Fen-Ning at that time. They were both in high school. Fen-Ning was playful and active, with a domineering and direct personality, while Zhou Beihe was submissive. She fell in love with him and skipped school with him for romance. At that time, Zhou Beihe was very much in love, and eventually she fell behind in her studies. After she fell behind in her studies, it was impossible for the Zhou family to pay for her to repeat her studies for another year, but Fen-Ning, because of her family background, there are many reasons for being outstanding. He finally entered the military academy. The absurdity of this year had no impact on him. It did not even stir up a wave of waves in his life, but it had a huge impact on Zhou Beihe. Lily is not ready to be as stupid as the original owner at this time. Although she wants to fulfill the original owner's wish for a love that has a beginning and an end, the rules do not necessarily have to follow Fen-Ning's. At least she must ensure that even if they break up in the future, Fen-Ning will not have any influence on her. So when Fen-Ning was waiting for her downstairs in the dormitory in the afternoon, Lily tidied away for a long time and carried a big bag before going downstairs. In the plot, Zhou Beihe had a very deep impression of this day. Fen-Ning also sang a love song to her on this day. Although she did not agree due to the girl's reserve, she was still touched in her heart. After dinner that evening, after that, Fen-Ning made an appointment with her on the playground, and couldn't wait to ask her if she had thought clearly. At that time, Fen-Ning was young and energetic and had little patience. As a result, Zhou Beihe went to the appointment, but it started raining heavily in the middle of the day, and the two of them got wet. She was like a drowned rat. In the end, the scene of Fen-Ning shielding her from the rain with his hands moved the girl's heart. On that day, she agreed to Fen-Ning's request and became his girlfriend. Knowing that it was going to rain that day, Lily naturally took an umbrella with her when she went out, and also wore a pair of sandals. When she got off the dormitory building, Fen-Ning was probably waiting for her female companion for the first time, with a look of impatience on her young face. Seeing Lily taking so long to come out, he stretched out his hand to pull her. Lily handed over her bag smoothly. He was stunned for a long time before he held the bag in his hand with some trepidation, as if he was a thief. Looking around, he was obviously a little embarrassed. Why did you come down so late? This was his first love, and he was not an expert in love, so he didn't have much patience for waiting for a female companion. It wasn't until he matured and stabilized many years later that he used that patience and stability. Regarding Chen Lele, although Lily wanted to fulfill her wish for the original owner, she never thought of wronging herself. When she heard Fen Ning's words, she raised her head and glanced at him. Pack some things. The boy was just 17 years old, but his figure was already very tall and strong, nearly 30 centimeters taller than Zhou Lily. At this moment, she raised her head and squinted her eyes. Her straight black hair was pulled into a ponytail, and the setting sun shone in on her clean and slightly green face. Her clear eyes made Fen Ning's ears slowly turn red, his heartbeat began to beat faster and faster, and he didn't even dare to look directly into Lily's eyes. In the beginning, Fen Ning fell in love with Zhou Beihe because of her unusual quietness. Although he wanted to pursue her, he was so shameless that he had always been domineering, impulsive and willful in front of Zhou Beihe. He had never been so flustered that he dared not when looking at her. Fen Ning was a bully-like figure in the courtyard who was fearless. He had never lost in a fight since he was a child. Although he didn't like to fight with others this year because of his music career, if he wanted to be fierce and fierce, he was not afraid, but at this moment, under Lily's gaze, he felt a little panicked for no reason. The girl's cheeks seemed as smooth as shelled eggs. In the past, he only found Zhou Lily pleasing to the eye, but never paid close attention to it. He had seen it, and the scene when she raised her head and looked at him, as if it had hit Fen Ning hard when he wasn't paying attention, causing his impression of Zhou Beihe to change from that quiet appearance to a sudden one. She tilted her head and looked at him. Fen Ning moved his fingers, wanting to touch Lily's cheek. The impatience he felt just now because of waiting for her for a long time was gone. As if he wanted to cover up his inner panic, he stretched out his hand. He grabbed Lily's hand and said, let's go, women are trouble." He had tall legs and long legs, and his steps were fast and strong. Lily's somewhat heavy bag hung on his body so lightly that it seemed as if she couldn't feel the weight. Lily was staggered by him and subconsciously reached out and pinched him. "Walk slower, I can't run fast." Fen Ning's neck began to turn red this time. He muttered a few words, his thick brows furrowed, but his steps slowly relaxed. The motorcycle has been parked outside the school, and it is already covered with his music equipment. Lily just destroyed one of his music equipment in the morning, and he got a brand new set in the afternoon. These things are not cheap. From the fact that he didn't show any distress on his face even after replacing these things, it can be seen that Fen Ning's family background is not simple. Seeing Lily's eyes falling on the motorcycle, Fen Ning took the opportunity to secretly turn around and take out a piece of paper from his pocket. Lily leaned over and said, "Have you made another plan?" To be continued. Carrot. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 704. As if he was startled, Fen Ning shook his hand, and a palm-sized notebook fell to the ground with a bang. He picked it up as if he was angry, his face turned red. Be a human being. Can we not have a plan? He patted the dust on his notebook and studied it for a long time with a red face. Then he got on the car and handed a safety helmet to Lily's hand. Go buy some food first, let's go up the mountain to eat. Lily stared at it when he was flipping through the notebook just now. There were the words romantic dinner written on it, followed by random descriptions such as flowers, music, wine, and stars. He took Lily to a convenience store to pack and buy some things. Fen Ning was also going to buy wine, but Lily reminded him, "You can't drive after drinking." He froze, and after a long while, he reluctantly took out the money. He took out his pen and crossed out the word wine. After the sunset faded in the evening, the weather became a little sultry. Fen Ning drove very fast, as if he was about to fly. Lily stretched out her arms and tightly hugged his waist to stabilize her body. His flying hair was blown by the wind to her cheeks. The wind brought by the motorcycle speeding past relieved the sultry air. After the motorcycle left the capital, Fen Ning seemed to have done his homework. After leaving the capital, Fen Ning went straight up a mountain road. The air on the top of the mountain is much cooler than at the bottom. Looking down from the mountain, you can have a panoramic view of the entire capital. There are lights in the distance. Fen Ning stopped the motorcycle and dismantled the musical instrument he had tied on it. Seeing Lily standing aside and watching, indescribably refreshing and leisurely, while he was carrying things with sweat on his cheeks. In contrast, Fen Ning felt a little regret in his heart, feeling that he should not move. Such a heavy instrument comes to the top of the mountain. But when he saw Lily staring at the scenery below the mountain, he felt a little proud, and said, "How about it? Your brother Ning has good taste, right?" Lily heard what he called himself. Looking back at him, Lily found that the ponytail she had tied up had been blown away by the wind, and the elastic band that tied her hair had been thrown away. Lily now reached out and stroked her long hair. There was a strong wind on the top of the mountain, and her hair was blown uncontrollably. The sight of her combing it with her fingers made Fen Ning feel a little dazed. The flustered feeling, as if there was a cat scratching in her heart, came back. It's really good. In addition to the scenery at the bottom of the mountain, it felt like a storm was coming on the top of the mountain. The dark clouds above seemed to be pressing down, and the muffled thunder could even be heard faintly. Lily was already prepared when she came. She took out the coat she brought in her bag. Fen Ning obviously felt something was wrong at this moment. He was stunned when he was taking the instrument. The rain came quickly and not too much. After a while, the thunder gradually became louder, and then the rain began to fall down. Lily held up the umbrella calmly. When the rain hit the motorcycle and musical instruments, Fen Ning was a little dumbfounded. Why is it raining? The weather forecast said it will rain tonight. You have done all your homework. Didn't you read the weather forecast? Lily huddled up into a ball. Fen Ning was hit by a few drops of rain, and then he seemed to react. I hurriedly shrank under the umbrella. The rain was falling more and more rapidly, and soon it was falling like broken beads. When the wind blew, Fen Ning, who was only wearing a shirt, subconsciously moved closer to Lily. The two of them huddled under the umbrella, with a distance between them. Half of Fen Ning's body was naturally wet, and he moved closer to Lily. Lily's height was limited, so her raised hand made Fen Ning, who was much taller, a little uncomfortable. He simply took the umbrella over, fearing that Lily would get caught in the rain, and finally put his hand into his arms. It was windy and rainy all around, but the two of them cuddled up under the umbrella but gradually became a little warmer. Fen Ning looked at the heavy rain. The food they bought and hung on the car before was definitely not good after being soaked by the rain. He thought, on my first date, my face was as black as ink. You knew it was raining, why didn't you stop me from coming to the mountain? Aren't you here? Lily asked him back, leaving Fen Ning speechless. She took out the plastic-wrapped English textbook from her bag and signaled Fen Ning to take out her mobile phone and turn on the flashlight. The light shone on the book, and Fen Ning began to look at heavy rain, still lamenting his first unfortunate date, but when he felt the girl in his arms gradually calmed down, the two squatted on the ground like frogs, and she was quietly protected by him. In her arms, as if the heavy rain outside could not affect her, Fen Ning felt a little dazed when she looked at the plain profile of her face. He didn't complain anymore. Not only was his heart beating fast now, but his hands were shaking a little, as if he couldn't hold up the small umbrella stand. He had never felt guilty when fighting, and when he was carrying something 100 times heavier than an umbrella, he didn't feel tired either, but now he felt the girl's body close to him, which made him panic and wanted to hide, but he couldn't help but want to get closer. There was no flower dinner, even if there was no starry song. It seemed like the two of them were trapped in the umbrella together, watching the rain falling from the edge of the umbrella, forming a small world under the umbrella. The feeling seemed to be more impressive than the dinner he expected. The violent storm gradually stopped after half an hour. Now the sky was completely dark. After the rain, the temperature on the mountain was even colder. Lily calculated that it was almost time to go back. She took out a towel and wiped the plastic wrapping the book, and put the book back into the bag. She was about to stand up, but unexpectedly Fen Ning put his arm around her waist. As soon as she moved, Fen Ning subconsciously he hugged her tighter. Go back. Lily stretched out her hand to pull him. Fen Ning didn't know what he was thinking. At this moment, he smiled stupidly and continued to shine. Lily pulled him several times before he came back to his senses. His face turned red suspiciously. Said dissatisfied, "Why are you going back so early? The dormitory will be closed later." Lily moved her feet to stand up, but she had just squatted for a long time, and now her feet were still a little numb, so she had to signal Fen Ning to pull herself up. He squatted for a long time and looked like as if nothing was wrong. He reached out and pulled Lily up. Seeing her stomping her feet, he hesitated for a moment, then knelt down and rubbed her calf. After rubbing it, he started to laugh stupidly again. It was indeed too late to return to the dormitory this time. The doors downstairs of the dormitory had been locked, and the building inspection teachers were patrolling the different corridors. If Lily is caught not in the room, there may be some trouble. Lily looked at the dormitory door, which was not too high, and was about to reach out and step on the iron door to climb up. Fen Ning picked her up by the waist, easily lifted her a little higher, and asked her to hold the door above firmly, and then leaned over. He motioned for her to step on his shoulders and roll in. When Lily landed safely, Fen Ning threw her school bag in. He was about to say that he would contact her the next day, but saw Lily pick up her school bag and run away quickly. Fen Ning swallowed in his stomach that he wanted to ask her to have breakfast tomorrow morning. He remembered what several cousins had said about women falling out quickly, so he turned around and left in depression. After heavy rain's date, Fen Ning couldn't help but pull Lily's hand and touch her. Almost all teenagers in adolescence have this kind of impulse. Lily treats him as if he is a child, and sometimes she just treats him as a coax if his behavior is not too excessive. Time flies by quickly, and in a blink of an eye, the second semester of the second year of high school is coming to an end. Fen Ning is about to take the college entrance examination, but he can't pass it in a few days. The Feng family in the plot would come over and ask Zhou Beihe to break up with Fen Ning. There were a few days left for the final exam. During evening self-study, Fen Ning came to sit next to her in the second grade classroom. She pushed the female classmate next to her into another seat. The teacher was talking about the key points of the exam on the stage. Lily took a pen and copied them down one by one, but the mobile phone in her bag rang all of a sudden. This was the mobile phone Fen Ning bought for her after they started dating in order to be able to find her at any time. She did not look at it. Fen Ning, who was sitting aside, couldn't help but reach out and touch her arm. Lily pretended not to feel anything, and it wasn't until after class that Fen Ning reached out and gave her a hand. "I sent you a message, why didn't you read it? Sit next to me. Just say what you want to say." "What message should I send?" Lily raised her eyebrows in confusion and asked him. Although Zhou Beihe's body that she entered at this moment was still young, Lily didn't understand the true and innocent mood of teenagers. Fen Ning was speechless by her question. He was indeed sitting next to Lily. He could speak directly to her, but for some reason, he just wanted to express it to her on his mobile phone, so that he could say something that he usually wouldn't dare to say. In the past, he was so bold in front of Zhou Beihe. He dared to sing love songs and recite love poems, and he dared to confess his love loudly in front of the whole dormitory and the teachers. But now in front of Lily, he sometimes couldn't say a word about liking her. As if he was getting less and less courageous, his heart beat very fast when talking to Lily, so sometimes he could only chat with her on his mobile phone. When Lily asked him a question, Fen Ning hesitated for a while, and then said a little embarrassed. "The holiday is coming soon, where are you going to play?" "Go home to study, do homework, help my mother do things, and find a part-time job at the same time," Lily said, then paused. "You know, my dad owes a lot of debt. If he doesn't work during the summer and has no money, he might sold me." She said it very seriously, but Fen Ning thought she was joking. He couldn't help but grinned, showing his white teeth. After a long while, his face felt a little hot, and he asked in a low voice, "Then if I buy you, will you like me?" There was some seriousness and persistence on the young man's face. Fen Ning has changed a lot during this time. He no longer dresses like a prodigal all day long like before. After dating with Lily, because sometimes Lily didn't like the dates he arranged, therefore, he sometimes asks her out 10 times, and she may refuse 9 times. So in order to prevent Lily from rejecting him, Fen Ning has not taken her to play rock music for a long time. Instead, he usually sits with her in the classroom and occasionally spends time with her. After staying in the library for half a day, even if he was in a daze, he felt very happy. After he stopped playing rock music, his long hair looked silly. He no longer wore sunglasses, and his long hair that was originally like a prodigal was cut much shorter. Most of the clothes he wore were mainly vests and shirts. No longer wearing stuffy leather clothes and leather pants like before, he was now staring at Lily with bright eyes. Lily looked at his young and energetic face and couldn't help but laugh. "Well, I will like you. But after you pay the money, you won't like it anymore." When Lily said she liked him in the first sentence, Fen Ning's eyes lit up, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth involuntarily. When he heard the next sentence, the young man was greatly shocked, and his face suddenly showed sadness and anger, and he was happy. The smile has not completely faded away, and the whole person seems to be dumbfounded. It is obvious that he did not expect the woman to be so fickle, and he stared at Lily speechless for a while. Seeing that she had no intention of apologizing, Fen Ning turned around angrily. But after a while, he couldn't bear it anymore and turned around. "I don't care anyway, if I buy you, you are mine, you have to like me." His expression was a little nervous, and he reached out to grab Lily's hand, as if to get her assurance. Lily couldn't help but smile when she thought that the Feng family might come to her door in 3 to 5 days at most. It was a pleasure to get along with Fen Ning during this period. He has a youthful and sunny feeling about him. Being with him can easily remind people of the period when they were young and full of glory. Lily feels as if she has been there since she can remember. She has always been mature and steady until now. A cheerful and lively boy like Fen Ning is completely different from her personality. With the two complementing each other, she at least feels that she is a little happy to fall in love with the original owner this time, but that's all. The original owner's wish was fulfilled, and she was ready to break up with Fen Ning when the Feng family came to her door. Therefore, the young man's nervous request for commitment made Lily smile, patted his head in a comforting manner, and stopped talking. Sure enough, a call came to Lily's dormitory the Saturday afternoon. When the sisters in the dormitory heard the call from Lily, they handed the phone to her. The call was from a woman who sounded older. She said she wanted to see her and gave her the location of the meeting. They made an appointment at a coffee shop outside the school. Lily had been waiting for this day for a long time. After hearing the call, she agreed. However, she is not as stupid as the original owner. When something happens, she will bear it all for the sake of so-called love. She cannot bear it. The time to enter the mission is too short. In order to fulfill the original owner's wish, Lily's time was either spent on Fen Ning or studying, because living in the dormitory had almost no time to practice martial arts, and there was not enough time to enter the mission this time. Therefore, she did not practice any martial arts. Zoe's father wanted to collect money and force her to marry. Lily was going to let Fen Ning solve the problem. For the so-called love, the original owner didn't want to get any interests between her and Fen Ning. He didn't want Fen Ning to be in trouble and see her embarrassed side, so he was stubborn and refused to let Fen Ning know anything. It was a good thing, but in the end he suffered a lot. Later, Chen Lele relied on Fen Ning to do a lot of things, but Fen Ning still loved her, so love is not truly pure and must be beautiful. Lily is not as brave as the original owner, so after hanging up the phone, he quickly picked up his cell phone and called Fen Ning and asked him to meet at the coffee shop. He was obviously still a little depressed because last time Lily said, "I don't like him," even after receiving money. In the cafe, Lily looked around, and when she saw a woman sitting in the corner of the cafe, she walked directly towards her. Fen Ning's eyes had always been on her, but he didn't notice this middle-aged woman until he was almost to the table. He was startled and subconsciously shouted, "Aunt Wang." In this plot, Zhou Bei thought that the woman who was Fen Ning's mother approached her and asked her to leave Fen Ning. In the end, she was not Fen Ning's mother. Lily suddenly felt dumbfounded and took off the bag on her back, and sat down on the sofa opposite the woman whom Fen Ning called Aunt Wang. Fen Ning looked between Lily and this woman with a puzzled expression, and finally sat down against Lily. "Aunt Wang, how could you do this? Come here." When the middle-aged woman known as Aunt Wang saw Fen Ning, her expression was a little surprised at first, and then she frowned and looked at Lily with dissatisfaction, as if she was blaming her for bringing Fen Ning here. Lily couldn't bear it. They couldn't help but sneered. The Feng family asked themselves to leave their son, and sent an unknown woman over without saying anything. They also wanted to keep Fen Ning from knowing. Anyway, they didn't think highly of themselves in their hearts, and they still wanted to. He can handle everything by himself, and Lily is not the fool that the original owner was, so naturally it is impossible for the Feng family to get what they want. "Young master, why are you here?" Aunt Wang was a little panicked at first, then calmed down and took a sip of coffee. Then she asked Fen Ning, and she began to think of countermeasures in her mind. Fen Ning was not stupid. Although his personality was a bit domineering, he already felt something was wrong at this moment. He glanced at Lily subconsciously, frowning and saying nothing. Lily was lazily leaning on the sofa. The afternoon sunlight shines on her face through the transparent floor-to-ceiling windows. Her eyelids droop slightly under her neat eyebrows. You can almost see tiny hairs on her fair skin. Her skin is as smooth as if it has been coated with fine powder. People can't help but want to reach out and touch it. She leaned back quietly, with a leisurely and comfortable expression. A few strands of hair fell on her cheeks. Fen Ning was almost jealous of the hair. Although Lily's expression was gentle, there was an air of repulsion from thousands of miles away. Her coldness seemed to exclude everyone in the world, and the looming pupils under her eyelashes showed a bit of coldness. Fen Ning subconsciously stretched out his hand to grab her hand, until he saw her raise her eyelids and look at her. Looking over, Fen Ning no longer looked the same as before. Fen Ning seemed to feel more at ease. After thinking about it, he moved over and got closer to her. "Aunt Wang, why are you here? Do you know my wife?" "This is my wife Lily, and this is Aunt Wang. Aunt Wang has been in my family for more than 20 years and has watched me grow up." Fen Ning reached out to tease her. Lily's broken hair was scattered on his cheeks. He had wanted to do such a move for a long time, but he had never dared. The girl's pink cheeks felt much better than he imagined. They were smooth and delicate, and the palms of his hands were honed from practicing martial arts since childhood. Even gently touching her cheek seemed to cut her skin. Fen Ning carefully tucked her hair behind her ears. Her heartbeat was so loud that she could hear it. His palms were trembling all the time. After pinning up Lily's hair, she shivered and brought it back to her lower abdomen, clenched it tightly into a fist and placed it on her thigh. At this moment, he felt that Aunt Wang sitting opposite was a bit of an eyesore. Except for the first date between the two, this was the first time he had touched Lily's face intimately. She did not refuse, and Fen Ning felt like pretending to be a little butterfly. She flapped her wings and swayed, making him unable to help but want to do something more, want to hold her in his arms, want to touch her face again, and even look at her beauty. He subconsciously slid his Adam's apple on the lips that were not rosy and beautiful under his nose, and his mouth suddenly felt a little thirsty. For a moment, Fen Ning seemed to have forgotten about Aunt Wang. He only stared at Lily. Aunt Wang opposite was shocked when she heard him say that Lily was his wife. For a family like the Feng family, the word daughter-in-law should not be mentioned casually. Feng's mother did not take Lily seriously at first. After all, her son has not yet been determined at this time, as if he likes rock music. For Feng's mother, Lily may be just a temporary interest in Fen Ning, so Lily is not as important as she imagined. She didn't even intend to meet Lily in person, and only sent a servant at home. But now Aunt Wang obviously felt that something was wrong. Fen Ning didn't look like he was just playing around. He was very serious. Although the young man's personality was not yet determined, there was already some determination in his eyes. It was obviously not just a temporary interest. He held Lily's hand tightly and said as if he was swearing that these were his wife's words, which made Aunt Wang unable to open her mouth. "Young master, I'm here because..." Aunt Wang didn't expect Fen Ning to come at first. She had prepared what she wanted to say to Lily, but it was obviously not suitable to say it to Fen Ning at this time. This Fen Ning was the direct descendant. The eldest grandson, the family loves him very much, and he has a little bully-like personality. If he disagrees with him, he may immediately fall out. Mrs. Feng is afraid of causing his rebound, so she asked Aunt Wang to come to Lily first. If she lets him know that she is the person who came to ask Lily to leave him would probably fall out due to Fen Ning's temper, and she couldn't confess Mrs. Feng, otherwise if there was a conflict between mother and son, Mrs. Feng might blame her in the future. "Miss Zhou, I have something to tell you alone, okay? To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 705. Before Lily had time to answer, Fen Ning felt something was wrong when he heard these words. He frowned and held Lily tighter. The young man was not stupid. He should have realized something. There was something in the palm of his hand. There were some beads of sweat, and the place where their palms met was extremely slippery. Lily wanted to take her hand out, but he held it tighter. "Is there anything you say that I can't listen to?" "Auntie, there's no need to let Fen Ning leave. I think I can guess your purpose. You should be here to persuade me and Fen Ning to separate, right? If I don't agree, my dad is a gambler and owes a lot of money. Do you also know about the debt? Are you going to give him money and let him discipline his daughter well, and don't let me drag Fen Ning down? Lily will not just take it on her own if something goes wrong, since she has taken the responsibility before due to Fen Ning's reputation. Fen Ning cannot stay out of trouble when there is trouble. Even if he may not be able to take the responsibility at the moment, since he can take all the responsibilities for Chen Lele in a few years, then regardless of him at this time with or without this ability, Lily would demand the same treatment as Chen Lele." When Aunt Wang heard what Lily said, she licked her lips in embarrassment and glanced at Fen Ning subconsciously. She didn't expect Lily to say the words so calmly. Lily was leaning on the sofa at this time, holding a baby in her arms. Bow, with a leisurely and contented look on her face, Aunt Wang believed that she should be mentally prepared when she received her call. After all, she stated that she was from the Feng family and wanted to talk to her about Fen Ning being with her. It is impossible for a girl of this age to be so calm. At this time, Lily's calmness made Aunt Wang a little confused. After she finished speaking, Aunt Wang was silent for a long time. Facing Fen Ning's increasingly ugly expression, she organized some words in her mind to avoid bringing Mrs. Fen in. He also wanted to break up the two of them without Fen Ning getting angry. You are all in high school now, and you are not allowed to fall in love in high school. My eldest son is about to take the college entrance examination in his senior year of high school. His latest mock test results were not satisfactory. Looking at Aunt Wang's cautious expression, Lily suddenly couldn't help but want to laugh again. Fen Ning's grades were not good because he had fought for territory and recruited younger brothers in the first year of his 3 years in high school. He had done everything. Teenagers in this period admired certain older brothers. Movies. Fen Ning was the boss in the minds of many people in school, and he became obsessed with rock music for more than a year. When he met Zhou Bei, he was already in the second half of his senior year in high school. Poor grades are not a result of a day, but whether it is in the plot or at this moment, the Feng family thinks it is their own fault. Fen Ning's grades are not so good. Lily picked up the water glass in front of her and took a sip. One bite. Okay, what do you want us to do? Let's break up, Fen Ning. I hope the Feng family won't find my father and do anything irrational. If you think the money is too much, don't throw it into my father's hands. Come on, just give it to me, I'm very short of money too. Lily nodded seriously to Aunt Wang, and wanted to stand up. The moment she said they broke up, something seemed to pop up in Fen Ning's mind. It was as if it was shattered. At that moment, he seemed to feel that the blood all over his body had gone cold, and a chill rose up from the soles of his feet. All his limbs and bones began to tremble. The next moment, his heart started beating violently again, as if it was about to jump out of his chest. The pale pink lips that made him want to get closer just now said the words of their breakup in an understatement. Fen Ning subconsciously grabbed Lily, as if she was afraid that she was going to run away. It seemed that once Lily left, he could no longer catch her. He stretched out his long legs to block Lily's way. He grabbed her back and said, "Don't break up." Lily's indifferent face reflected in the young man's eyes, but Fen Ning in her eyes was so nervous that his arms tensed up. The blood on his face faded instantly, and his eyes seemed to tremble slightly, so that Lily could see the image of his own face in his eyes started to shake, and a thin layer of moisture came out of his eyes. He was born in a military family, and he never cried even if he was in pain and uncomfortable during a fight. Yes, the most common thing he said when he and Lily were together was, "With you brother Ning here, I'm not afraid of anything." He had a sense of self-confidence unique to teenagers. He had never known what fear was, but at this moment, his palms were always warm. But he was shivering from the cold. He reached out and held Lily's face, his eyes widened and he looked at Lily. "If you don't say break up, I'll buy you." The legs he held up began to shake out of irritation, and he even kicked the table so much that it made a rattling noise. When Lily heard what he said, she suddenly felt a headache. She had prepared for the breakup early in the morning. Okay, to be honest, Zhou Bei's wish for this mission is to make her love have a beginning and an end. She helped Zhou Bei start it and had already thought about the end. She invited Fen Ning to come with her, just hoping that he could take care of the Feng family by himself. Don't let the Feng family stretch their hands on her, she just wants to let herself enjoy the same treatment as Chen Lele later, and let Fen Ning shoulder some responsibilities when he needs to shoulder them. Even if the two broke up, Zhou Bei was not the one who caused Fen Ning's growth. But Bei didn't expect that Fen Ning would be unwilling. These days, she is not enthusiastic about Fen Ning. Every so-called date between the two is not her. Fen Ning was looking at her when she was reading. In the early stage, Fen Ning would try every means to find date plans. In the later stage, he almost stopped making those arrangements, stopped playing rock music, and did not often take the original owner to see her like in the plot. Scene listens to music and imitates adults in drinking beer, and even does some behaviors that would lead to conflicts between lovers. Lily thinks that he must be a bit boring. A boy with his personality is suitable for a girl who should spend his youth with him. Play with him like crazy until he gets through the growth period and becomes stable and restrained. Then he meets Chen Lele and treats her wholeheartedly from then on. Lily never thought that someone with Fen Ning's personality would be able to tolerate her not saying anything. Now that she had proposed breaking up, Fen Ning actually said she didn't want to. Why not separate them? Lily asked. After thinking about it, she opened her backpack, took out the well-preserved mobile phone from it, and wanted to return it to Fen Ning. Fen Ning's face turned dark, and Lily returned his mobile phone. And saying that he wanted to take money from him did not seriously dampen the young man's self-esteem. Lily had previously jokingly said that he liked him when he gave him money, but she didn't like him after paying the money. Fen Ning already had a feeling for Lily's character. With a certain amount of resistance, if he wanted to be so angry with Lily, Lily would never come to coax him as his cousins said. He took a deep breath and did something he had always done. He had wanted to do it for a long time, but didn't have the guts to do it. He held Lily's face and pressed his lips to hers. Before their lips touched, Lily felt her soul being ejected from her body for a moment. It wasn't until the next moment that Fen Ning moved away her face that was so red that it seemed like it could drip blood that she regained control of her body. There was some pain. Although Fen Ning had seen what others did and knew how to do it, the young man's reckless behavior and panic still bit her lip. At this moment, he felt so guilty that he did not dare to look into Lily's eyes. But his hand held her tightly, and Aunt Wang opposite her was already stunned. Fen Ning lowered her head, with a shy expression on her face. She wanted to giggle, but she forced herself to be calm. I don't break up, Aunt Wang, I will go back and tell my parents, don't look for my wife's father. After saying this, Fen Ning took the bag from Lily's hand. He didn't suddenly learn to be considerate, but Lily's behavior of holding the bag and trying to run just now made him instinctively feel that he didn't feel safe after arresting the person. She always wants to grab something in her hand so that she can't run away. It's in her own hand. Lily can't run away like this. But when Aunt Wang saw such a move, she was so surprised that she couldn't speak. Since Fen Ning said that people from the Feng family could no longer look for Zhou Beihe's father, Aunt Wang naturally gave up her original idea of starting from Zhou's father. When the two people left, she thought of the scene just now. And after a long while, he suddenly came to his senses and hurriedly took out his mobile phone. After coming out of the cafe, Fen Ning was carrying Lily's bag with one hand and holding her with the other as he walked on the road. He lowered his head, and his expression was no longer as confident and proud as before. He lowered his head like a defeated rooster. Come on, he was kicking his toes on the ground, looking listless. He was silent for a while, as if he wanted to speak, but when he saw Lily, he didn't know what he thought of, and his ears turned red again. He stood up, turned his face away, grinned, and after a long while he stammered. Anyway, you are mine. Your father's business is my father's business. No, your father is my business. You can't break up in the future. You are my wife. I will feel uncomfortable hearing this. He seemed to be a little flustered and didn't know how to express himself. His words were all messed up. Lily touched Poppy's mouth and glanced at him. How uncomfortable is it? Is it as uncomfortable as me having a broken lip? Fen Ning's heart was in chaos. It was the first time for a young man to fall in love. Before he could finish enjoying the sweetness of love, he had already encountered troubles that he could not care about at his age. At this time, he had a lot of things to say in his heart, but he hadn't even had time to express them to Lily. After coming out, after talking for a long time, he still felt that what he wanted to say could not be said clearly. When he heard Lily mention the broken lip, his body stiffened and his face turned red for a moment, as if he was about to bleed. Normally, he glanced at Lily with some annoyance, and wanted to run away, but he didn't like the feeling of running away from the battlefield, so he just wanted to move, but he forcibly endured it. He licked his lips, he bit the bullet and said loudly, "I will always be good at my skills in the future, can't you just endure it once?" To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 706. When the people around him heard this, they all looked at him subconsciously. Fen Ning didn't realize what he said at first, but when he realized what he said, he couldn't help it no matter how thick-skinned he was, so he pulled Lily and ran away quickly. This time, as if he was afraid that Lily would run away, he followed Lily all day long. In the past, he would start to feel dazed after sitting in the library for less than half an hour. Now he held a book in front of his face. Just staring at Lily, the prince, who was not used to eating in the cafeteria before, took the initiative to queue up to prepare meals for Lily. He spent the whole day and even accompanied Lily to evening self-study in the evening. Until the bell rang, he pulling Lily to take her back to the girls' dormitory, he walked very slowly. He was always used to walking forward in long strides. Lily sometimes couldn't keep up with his pace and needed to be asked to slow down. This time, he was dragging his feet. But he dragged Lily back until the door of the girls' dormitory was closed. "I will solve it. Just wait for me, wife." The dormitory door has been closed, but Fen Ning doesn't want to let go of Lily's hand. The palms of the two of them clasp together, he relaxes and then clasps tightly, showing that he is. Lily could feel the struggle in her heart, but she just leaned against the door quietly without saying a word. After a while, Fen Ning sighed, picked up Lily, pushed her shoulders up, and motioned for her to step on it and turn it over. Going in, he actually wanted to get Lily. The instinctive impulse of a boy at this stage made him want to get something to seize that sense of security. If it were him before, he would have wanted it. Who has not been impulsive and willful in his youth? When? But he struggled for a long time, and now he finally endured it. When Lily agreed to date him. On their first date, he had asked Lily to step on his shoulder back to the dormitory, and this time he used the same method to send Lily back. When he jumped down to the ground and was about to pick up his schoolbag and run away, Lily looked back at him. He grasped the iron railing with both hands, with a regretful look on his face, and some gritted teeth, as if he wanted to catch her back. However, Lily looked helpless and could only hit her head on the iron door, making a click-click sound. When Lily turned around, his eyes lit up, and he squeezed his face against the iron door with all his strength. On the door, a face was almost squeezed out of shape, but he couldn't squeeze in at all. The flesh on both cheeks was squeezed into the shape of vertical strips by the mark on the iron door frame. He stretched out his hand and waved to Lily. "Come here, wife." It's already ugly, but it gets even uglier when squeezed in. Lily couldn't help but laugh when she saw him like this. Fen Ning saw her smile and subconsciously grin too, until Lily heard that the teacher doing rounds was about to check her building. She didn't follow Fen Ning's words, but turned around and ran away. When she was gone, Fen Ning reluctantly moved her face away from the iron fence. "What's so ugly about me? My parents both said that I look energetic." Even as he said this, Fen Ning remembered the way Lily had just laughed at him, so he still reached out and touched his face, then stood there and giggled for a while, then touched it at the corner of his mouth. He sighed as if he remembered something after a long while. The figure gradually disappeared into the dark night. Ever since people from the Feng family came to see Lily on this day. After that, not only the Feng family members did not appear again, but Fen Ning also seemed to disappear on campus for a while. He used to act very openly, even though he was a senior in high school. But if he wanted to accompany Lily for internship in the second year of high school, he would definitely stay in the evening self-study class of the second year of high school. The school seems to have a clear idea of his background, so most of the schools turn a blind eye to some of his outrageous things and pretend not to notice. He has disappeared for several days in a row, and no one in the school has seen him carrying it. With the figure pretending to be cool while wearing a guitar, many classmates started to inquire about Lily. The exclusive mobile phone between the two of them never rang again. Lily's exams in the second half of her sophomore year were also over, and she was ready to wait until she got the after getting the transcript. I went home. Many people have left the school dormitory one after another in the past 2 days. The first person to leave in the dormitory was her roommate who lived in the capital. Lily received her transcript and booked a ticket home, planning to go home in 2 days. He has no feelings for Lily Zoe. Zoe's father has been gambling and having fun since he was young. He would be fine if he won. He would use the money to eat, drink and have fun with his friends. Once he lost, he would beat his wife and children when he returned home. Zoe Lily's mother, she was very cowardly. Every time she was beaten, she just cried and said that her life was bad. When Zoe Behi graduated from junior high school, she was admitted to a key high school in the imperial capital because of her excellent grades. At that time, in order to reward her, the school gave her a bonus of 20,000 yuan. Zoe Behi, it was in order to receive the bonus that the father agreed to let his daughter attend high school. Anyway, Zoe Behi's mother was figuring out how to pay for her high school tuition, as well as her living expenses. The relationship between her parents was very weak, so after receiving her transcript, Lily didn't rush back. Instead, she made a special reservation 2 days later. Ticket, and prepared to take a rest before returning to Zoe's home. Once the students in the dormitory building were almost gone, it became very quiet. Because the students left school, the lights in the dormitory were not turned on for the past 2 days. Lily had nothing to do at night, so she took a shower in the dark and then lay down. After getting out of bed, not long after it got dark, there was a knocking sound outside the balcony, as if something was opening the window. Although Lily was the only one in the dormitory, she was not afraid, and instead began to explore around her. Took out his own thing given by Fenning. After brightening the screen light, Lily touched the stool in her hand, and slowly carried the chair to the window. The window was opened immediately, and a figure rushed in nimbly. Lily raised the chair and knocked on the door. In the past, I thought she had caught her by surprise, but I didn't expect that the figure was more flexible than her. He twisted his body in a circle to avoid the chair. When Lily was about to knock again, he had already grabbed Lily's arm with both hands. He lifted Lily up with all his strength. When he picked up Lily, he instinctively smashed it to the ground. The chair in Lily's hand couldn't be grasped and fell into his hand. Only when he reacted did he realize what he had grabbed. Kankan put Lily down and held her in his arms. "Daughter-in-law, it's me." Fen Ning's voice came from the darkness. Lily had just been moved around by him. At this moment, her internal organs seemed to be about to shift. Her thinking and reaction were flexible enough, but Zoe Lily's body was not trained at all. Martial arts, plus Fen Ning's movements were too agile, so she missed even if she unexpectedly attempted a sneak attack. At this moment, Fen Ning held her in his arms and refused to let go. Lily originally held a key in her hand and was about to press it. His acupuncture point moved away again after hearing his voice. "You don't even miss me, you didn't recognize me." There was a hint of resentment in Fen Ning's voice in the darkness. He had disappeared for several days. Not only did no one show up, he didn't even send another phone message. For Lily, it was equivalent to his acquiescence to the fact that the two broke up. Unexpectedly, Fen Ning would come to the door again at this moment. Lily struggled twice, but Fen Ning hugged her tighter. His arms, she shivered slightly and her breathing became a little heavy. Her legs clamped Lily's legs tightly so that she could no longer struggle. Then her lips began to move around her cheeks and earlobes, and her arms and legs gradually shrank. It was getting tighter and tighter, and my heartbeat was obviously a little faster. "Let go," Lily kicked him, but failed to get him away. The next moment, Fen Ning hugged him and sat on the chair that Lily had just used to hit him, but he put it on the ground instead. The young man couldn't control himself when he was impulsive. At first, he didn't actually think about what to do. It was just that they had never been separated for such a long time since they started dating. It was only when they actually met that Fen Ning didn't, after being able to control himself. When Lily's soul began to float lightly, she originally thought that Fen Ning would do whatever he wanted. After all, his personality was impulsive and direct. A person of his background never understood what it meant to wrong himself. In the dormitory, the classmates had all moved out, and the beds had been cleaned long ago. The only thing that hadn't been cleaned yet was Zobei's bed. Fen Ning carried Zobei's body up, and he kissed and hugged her, but in the end he came out. To Lily's surprise, he wrapped Lily's body in the thin air conditioning quilt without going to the last step. He vented his anger through the quilt, and after struggling until dawn, he touched the cheek of Lily's body in a rare way, hugged her tightly and fell asleep. It was almost noon that Lily returned to his body. It was early July. The weather is extremely hot. After the students in the school have gone on vacation, the air conditioners in the dormitories have been turned off. Last night, Zobei's body was wrapped in a quilt by Fen Ning. Now he was covered in sweat. The love in the dormitory, the ambiguous atmosphere has not completely dissipated until now. Fen Ning's quiet face was sleeping not far from hers. The two of them were squeezed into a small bed. He didn't know what sweet dream he had, and he grinned at the corner of his mouth. When Lily opened her eyes, he murmured, "Wife." Lily used all her strength to kick Fen Ning on the waist when he was not prepared. Before he opened his eyes, he subconsciously reached out to grab her, but when he touched her, he instinctively pushed her into the bed and rolled down to the ground. He fell on the edge of the bed with a bang. He didn't dare to open his eyes, but his ears were very red. "Why did you kick me?" "It's so hot." Fen Ning was naked now. Lily pulled the quilt to wrap herself up, sat up slowly, and motioned for him to pick up some clothes and put them on. Fen Ning did it one by one shyly. "Yesterday I was a little uncontrollable when I was impulsive, but now I feel a little embarrassed after it's over. I don't even dare to look at Lily. I turn my back like a little daughter-in-law, and occasionally turn around to look at Lily." After noticing her gaze, he hurriedly turned his head and grinned from time to time. To be continued. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan Erwr. Chapter 707. The spaces between his fingers were sticky. Fen Ning didn't really get Zobei's body yesterday, but he had licked all of his fingers. Lily glared at him and ordered him to add hot water to the boiling water bottle in the corner of the dormitory. In the toilet, Fen Ning happily agreed. Lily wrapped herself in a quilt and entered the toilet. Then she threw the thin quilt out and ordered him to wash it off. When Lily finished washing her hair and taking a shower, Fen Ning had already put on her clothes. Now looking at the sheet soaked in the basin and giggling, with a longing look on his face, not knowing what he was reminiscing about. "I'll buy whatever you want to eat." His hands were full of bubbles mixed with washing powder and water, and there were some on his forehead and collar. When he saw Lily coming out of the toilet, his eyes lit up, and he quickly threw them away. After finishing their work and washing their hands, they gathered around. Fen Ning had changed a bit after not seeing each other for the past few days. He seemed to be more tanned, his hair was cut shorter, and his cheeks were less arrogant than before. Childish, a bit heavier, but when you smile, you can still see a bit of the past. Lily frowned and wanted to wipe her head with a handkerchief. Fen Ning moved faster than her. He took the towel with both hands and handed it to her. "Daughter-in-law, you are so beautiful." She had just come out of the shower. Her dark, semi-long hair was spread across her chest. Her face was like a hibiscus of clear water, without any makeup or powder. There was even moisture between her eyebrows. Her face had a healthy and full blush. She wore an ordinary white shirt. The color of her underwear was faintly visible, and as she breathed, her breasts rose and fell slightly. The girl's breasts had just developed, and were still green. He had encountered them before, and that kind of touch reminded Fenning, and there was almost something in his nostrils. They all spurted nosebleeds. He didn't dare to look anymore and turned his head away hastily. His face was red, his ears were tingling, and his heart seemed to be beating out of his chest. The beating sound at this moment could not even be heard from his own breathing. "Who is your wife?" Lily suddenly felt a little troubled. Zobehi's wish was to bring her first love that ended in vain to a beginning and an end. The two broke up in the end, and Zobehi only hoped to have a clear understanding. She just didn't want to be speechless and unable to speak when she met Fenning many years later. At this point in the plot, Fenning should have been arrested in the military academy, and the two of them should have divided their things from now on. A few years later, when he went to his own university, he met his Chenlele, but now Fenning didn't. The logical move disrupted Behi's original plan. Her plan included Zobehi's wish to enter college. He studied hard to find a good job, but he never considered being with Fenning. "You are my wife." Fenning looked at Lily in a daze. He didn't know what he thought of. A red vine rose from his face, spread behind his ears, and crawled down his neck. He seemed to be squirming. Because he was much taller than Lily, Lily sat on the bed now. He was so high up that he couldn't see Lily's face. When he squatted down, Lily had an expression on her face and he didn't know what Lily's expression was. Finally, he simply sat down on the ground. Legs crossed. "My parents will not trouble you anymore. I told them that I will not take the college entrance examination. I am going to enter the military academy. You have to wait for me." He was a little shy at first. When I talked about it later, I became a little nervous again. The hand that grabbed Lily's hair and shook it, "You must wait for me. Fenning, as your family said, you are still young and you will meet someone more suitable for you in the future." The more suitable person Lily mentioned was naturally Chenlele. But Fenning shook his head like a rattle, and a stubborn look appeared on the young man's face. "You are the right person for me. You are not living with my parents. I have the final say on whether you are suitable or not. What will happen to your brother Ning? Not good. They will definitely not trouble you again, and I have taken care of your father's affairs." Originally, Fenning didn't like the army. The Feng family came from a military background. As the eldest descendant of Fenning, from the moment he was born, the Feng family had been paving the way for him to enter the army. Unfortunately, he felt nothing. However, he has no interest in joining the army arranged by his family. In the plot, it was not until Fenning was 17 years old that he was emotionally injured and was finally forced by his father to join the army for training. From then on, he became the year he turned 17 also became a turning point in Fenning's life. From then on, he would become more resolute in the army, become more and more calm, and become able to stand alone, until he met Chenlele and became her protector. Lily frowned and stared at Fenning. His eyes he was wandering around with a silly smile on his face, obviously not taking what Lily just said into his heart. In Lily's view, the so-called dating process between the two was just equivalent to the nominal boyfriend and girlfriend meeting to have dinner together, walk around campus, and study in the evening. If it hadn't been for what happened last night, the two would have been innocent except for that one time. Ning recklessly touched her lips, and there was no more intimate contact. Lily has a cold and calm personality. She doesn't have the youthful romance, innocence, and cuteness of girls in this period. She is just dull and boring. Fenning has a completely different personality from hers. Lily doesn't know how Fenning can endure it until now and still not give up. When she heard Fenning say that he was going to enter the military academy, She saw that he didn't want to hear her talk about breaking up, so Lily didn't mention it. Anyway, after he entered the military academy, the management of the military academy was strict. He didn't just come in when he wanted to go out. Then they went out, and the two of them divided their things. After going to college, who would know where each other would be? Anyway, he had already told Fen Ning to break up. Even if it ended up like that, the two of them would not end without a problem. The original mission request of the first love to have a beginning and an end, he had already completed for her. Fen Ning stayed in the girls' dormitory for a day. He diligently washed Lily's quilt and sheets, and even washed her clothes. He was a little clumsy at first, but he was more willing to learn and do it, so he was able to wash it. Although it was not very clean, I was very happy to have this feeling. The two of them went out to eat at noon. The school cafeteria was already on holiday. The two of them walked hand in hand on the street. The smile on Fen Ning's face did not stop. Pass. There are many shops around the school that students like. In addition to various snack shops that girls like to eat, the most popular ones are some trinkets and knickknacks shops. The two of them had a meal, and Fen Ningla, when he walked to a silver jewelry store with Lily's hand, there was a poster posted on the transparent glass door of the store. It was a scene of a couple wearing rings and looking at each other and giggling. He couldn't move at once. He started to move, pulling Lily with him to get into the store. The weather was really hot, and Lily was happy to go into the store and enjoy the air conditioning. So as soon as he wanted to enter the store, Lily followed him in. When the owner of the store found that a customer came to the door, he immediately cheered up. Here they sell all kinds of silver jewelry that students like. In addition to couple necklaces, couple bracelets, and earrings that can be given as gifts, there are also couple rings. These silver jewelry are very beautiful in appearance and relatively priced. It's not expensive, even high school students can afford it. In order to attract business, the store even launched an activity where as long as you buy a couple silver rings, they will help engrave the English initials of each other's names for free. Fen Ning the child became a little excited. It's not that he doesn't have money to buy more expensive diamond jewelry and other jewelry, but those things are nothing compared to what he wants at the moment. After measuring the size of their fingers, he carefully selected a pair of styles. A simple and elegant couple's ring. The two people's names were engraved on each other's rings. When the shop owner took the rings into the shop for processing, he anxiously poked his head to look inside. Lily sat quietly. Sitting beside the chair in a daze, he occasionally turned his head and smiled silly at Lily, then turned his head away and looked into the room. When the ring was finished, he squatted down carefully in front of Lily and held her hand in his palm. He was a little nervous, and there were fine beads of sweat on the tip of his nose. He was holding the small ring. His hand was still trembling. He laughed dryly, wiped the trembling palm on his waist, and carefully put the ring into Lily's middle finger again. At this moment, his expression was almost serious. As if pious, he squatted in front of Lily, with a young face full of seriousness. That feeling was somewhat infected by Lily, making her sit upright involuntarily. He pushed the ring in carefully. He did this very well. Very slowly. It wasn't until the ring was inserted that he took a long breath of relief that he had been holding, and a smile appeared on his face. This is only temporary. I will buy better ones in the future. Wife, you are mine. My brother is just setting you up now. One day he will put the ring on your finger. He put the ring on and licked it. He wiped his lips and hands on his body again, then grabbed the back of Lily's hand and kissed her ring finger hard, making a chirp sound. He had no intention of hiding it. Such straightforwardness and frankness made the shop owner see. He couldn't help but smile at the corner of his mouth. It's your turn. Fen Ning put his ring in Lily's palm and hesitated to let go of her hand. He used the corner of his eye to peek at her to see if she wanted to take off the ring. When he looked like that, he couldn't help biting his lips and snickering again. No matter what happens to the two of them in the future, Lily is touched by Fen Ning's seriousness at this moment. She believes in Fen Ning's seriousness at this moment. Although she may not necessarily believe that Fen Ning will continue to be so serious, Lily still smiles. The ring slipped into his middle finger like a gourd, and Fen Ning grinned. He was so excited that he wanted to hold her face and kiss her on the mouth, but when he saw the shopkeeper beside him, he was joking. When she looked like this, she was a little embarrassed and didn't want others to see the closeness between the two of them. It was as if her little sweetness would be stolen away. Fen Ning coughed twice and took out his card to pay the bill. Then twisted the bag and left the jewelry store. To be continued. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 708. This gift is not expensive, but it is the first time Fen Ning has given her something in their relationship, which represents his full sincerity. In the plot, Zhou Beihe does not know Fen Ning's origin, but she insists on not using anything from Fen Ning. Except that until the end of this first love, there was nothing memorable between the two, except Zhou Beihe's memory of the countless times when the boy took her to listen to songs. Other than that, in the remaining 10 years of her limited life, all she had left was holding on to the memories of the past. The sun was very strong in the afternoon. Fen Ning originally wanted to drive Lily out of the capital for a ride on his motorcycle, but seeing her face covered in sweat from the sun, Fen Ning felt a little depressed because she was not yet 18 years old. With a driver's license, I can no longer take her in an air-conditioned car. He didn't want to impress Lily with material things, otherwise he wouldn't have given her only a silver ring, but after having such a person in his heart, he felt distressed when he saw her. Even seeing her shed a drop of sweat right now, they would all feel distressed. Originally, he was going to take her out on a motorcycle, but Lily had booked a ticket for tomorrow, and he was going to be sent to the military academy by his father. This was the condition he had promised a long time ago, but now looking at Lily's face, a vague feeling of regret came to Fen Ning's heart. He wanted to tell Lily to stay. This impulse made him hesitate to speak when facing Lily several times. But in the end, he thought about his responsibilities and the promises he had made to his parents, and then saw the silver ring on his middle finger. The impulsive temperament unique to a young man in Fen Ning's heart gradually faded away like a tide, replaced by his slowness. With slow and steady eyes, he circled around a few times in the end. His expression changed several times, but in the end he just pulled Lily and spun around in the school avenue. During his 3 years in this high school, he had been to almost every place in this school because of his flamboyant personality. He knew exactly where every corner was, and he knew where there were beautiful scenery, but he actually wasted so much time in the 3 years of high school. I just discovered Lily, and now I feel like I haven't spent much time with her yet, and I'm about to graduate. Although he was a little reluctant to leave, Fen Ning still sent Lily back to the dormitory. Feng's family arranged a car for the evening. The military academy was not in Beijing. He couldn't even wait until tomorrow to send Lily back to Zhou's house. He answered a phone call. When he was about to leave, he turned back 3 times. The door of the dormitory was now unlocked. When Lily was about to go downstairs, she could still feel Fen Ning's eyes on her. When she was about to climb the stairs, there was a rush of click, click, click. The sound of running rang out before Lily turned around. Fen Ning hugged her from behind, her voice choked with sobs. "You little heartless thing, you go so fast." He felt a little helpless, as if he wanted to take a bite of Lily, but he was a little reluctant to do so. The girl was all soft, and he felt pain wherever he pinched her. In the end, it just hurt hard. After kissing her on the head and making a loud sound, Fen Ning said seriously, "Daughter-in-law, you must remember to miss me. You have to wait for your brother Ning to come back, and you can't run away with others. If run away and I'll break someone else's legs," He was a little domineering at first. The voice gradually became more sinister, and the rapid heartbeat and tense body showed that Fen Ning was not at peace at the moment. He reiterated it several times. I have already stamped it. This is mine, everything is mine. Brother will come back and pick out a nice ring for you and put it on your ring finger. Fen Ning didn't want to leave, but the phone rang finally. He watched Lily go upstairs eagerly, stood with his head raised for a long time, and then left. Lily looked out of the window, and Tatada pulled his head. He was always high-spirited and walked like a tiger in full force, but now he was like a wilted eggplant, with his shoulders slumped. As he walked, he looked back. When he was far away, when he turned around and saw Lily standing by the window, his eyes lit up again, and he waved to Lily desperately. Lily couldn't help but want to laugh at this silly look. He was like a dog that had found its owner. Encouraging like a dog, but also a little excited to run back, Lily closed the window when she saw his actions, and he was still calling wife outside. I regret. The text message on the phone rang. Lily clicked on it and Fen Ning's message came over. He was confused and didn't know what he was regretting. Lily glanced at the phone and put it down again. The ticket was booked early in the morning. Zhou's home is not far from the center of the capital. It only takes more than 4 hours by car at most. Zhou Beihe used to be a famous female champion in the village. She was admitted to a key high school in the city and won the prize. The news of receiving a reward of 20,000 yuan from the school spread throughout the surrounding villages. However, not many people in the village went to high school. Most of them dropped out of school to work after junior high school, especially girls. After graduating from junior high school, there were countless people who came back to their hometown after working for 2 years to get married. Therefore, when Beihe returned to Zhou Beihe's hometown, she received a lot of looks and comments, many of which were just out of curiosity. Zhou's father was not at home, only Zhou Beihe's father. A pair of younger siblings were helping Zhou's mother dry clothes and cook. When they saw Lily coming back carrying a lot of things, Zhou, who was just 10 years old, jumped up. Sister is back. According to Zhou Beihe's character, Beihe bought some snacks and composition books before leaving Beijing. Usually the original owner is very frugal, but whenever he comes home on vacation, he is very generous to his family. Now he took out the gifts, and a pair of younger siblings looked like them. They circled around her like a puppy. The left mother was given a new shirt that was not very valuable, but the left mother was reluctant to wear it. She just kept reaching out and touching it. She was so excited that she could not speak. After staying at home for a long time, Zhou's father did not come back. It was not until Lily asked during lunch that Zhou's mother said silently, "A few days ago, your father said that he was going to go out to work with someone and left. There is no such thing in the plot. Zhou's father is used to idleness. How can someone who can't help a broom fall over at home be willing to go out to work?" He had been playing around with Zhou's mother since he got married. He would play cards and drink with others when he had nothing to do. He would lose his temper like an old man when he came home unsatisfactory. He had been incompetent and useless all his life. Now he would go out to work with others. Lily didn't know why. I remembered that when Fen Ning came to me and said that he would solve Zhou's father's matter, I had a vague feeling in my heart. Okay, don't talk about him anymore. Zhou's mother didn't dare to look into her daughter's eyes. 2 months ago, Zhou's father lost a lot in playing cards. At that time, the creditor came to the house and he had no money to pay back, so they joked with him, saying he ran out of money and asked someone to repay it, and said that he had an eldest daughter who was as beautiful as a flower. Zhou's father was moved at that time, and was looking for a suitable partner for Lily, and was going to accept a betrothal gift to marry Lily off. She was still looking for a partner these days. Zhou's mother tried to persuade her several times but to no avail. Instead, she was beaten several times by him. She kept resisting and did not dare to call Lily to tell her. She was crying so hard that she couldn't help it. Unexpectedly, a few days ago, Zoe's father seemed to be a changed person. He got involved with a woman in the town. When he came home, he didn't say he was selling his daughter. He packed his things and said he was going out to work, and she ran away. As soon as the others left, Zoe's mother was inexplicably relieved. She didn't want to mention the past to Lily anymore. Anyway, although Zoe's father wanted to marry Lily back then, he failed after all. All parents in the world are good. Zoe's mother didn't want to mention it at this moment to make Lily feel jealous of Zoe's father. After all, no matter how bad Zoe's father was, he was still Lily's father, so Zoe's mother thought about it and didn't mention this matter to Lily. During the summer vacation, she helped Zoe's mother at home, and spent the rest of the time teaching her younger siblings homework. Lily originally wanted to practice martial arts, but she didn't have any private time at Zoe's house compared to when she was at school. Zoe's mother had to work every day, in order to support her daughter. She had to do many jobs. After Lily returned home, she took on the task of cooking for a pair of younger siblings and teaching them homework. Things at home were complicated and very busy. At night, the two sisters slept in the same room. Lily slowly, I temporarily stopped thinking about practicing martial arts, and occasionally only practiced 2 simple movements of physical training, purely as a physical exercise. 2 months passed in a flash. As she was packing her things before school started, Lily turned over her phone, which had long been out of battery. Then she remembered that she had never charged her phone since she got home because the battery had dried up for a long time. The automatic protection mode has been turned on, and now I can't charge it at all, and I can't turn on the phone. I have to wait until the school starts to go back to school and find the after-sales service to reactivate the phone. Before leaving, Zoe's mother took out 2,000 yuan. She had just borrowed it from someone else. Zoe's father had already taken away all the tuition money he had saved for his daughter when he ran away with others. Lily thought about it and only took 500 yuan. Lily saved a few dollars by frugally. 100 yuan, her tuition and miscellaneous fees. Because Zoe did well when she was admitted to high school, but her family background was not good, the school gave her a lot of deductions. She told Zoe's mother that she might not come back for the Chinese New Year this time and planned to find a place near the school. Zoe's mother agreed to work part-time to pay for her tuition and fees for the next semester, and then she carried a lot of things for her daughter and sent her to town. Lily has now entered her senior year of high school. She is busy with studies in her senior year, but Zoe's grades are already good. Lily has read several books during her mission, and with her improved intelligence, her grades are not only no worse than those of the original owner, but even better than those of her original master. The original owner was better at the time. In order to find a job in the future, Lily was still planning to target the first university of the imperial capital, a key university in China. The mobile phone Fen Ning bought for her rarely rang. Lily occasionally she only thought about activating and charging after a few months. She spent most of her time studying. Although she did not practice martial arts, she changed several simple physical exercises into yoga-like movements, even if she did not practice martial arts. But you can also exercise. The senior year of high school passed quickly. During this year, there was no news from Zoe's father. He applied for first university. When the transcript came out, the teacher called the dormitory and said that her score exceeded admission line. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 709. The school is a key high school in the imperial city. Maybe the school is very happy to have a student like Bai who has been admitted to the first university of China, so it has rewarded Bai with a certain amount of money so that she no longer has to worry about the tuition for the first year of university. Lily has not been back to the Zhou family for nearly a year. She took advantage of this year to go home after she was admitted to university. The whole town was very lively because Lily was admitted to Imperial University, because Lily was the pride of the town. Banners were put up in the town and easy jobs were arranged for Zoe's mother. Without Zoe's father as a burden, the Zoe family's life was much better now. It wasn't until about 10 days before the university started that Lily returned to school. After registering at the school, the dormitories were rearranged. The dormitory conditions at the university were better than those in high school. Each dormitory was equipped with air conditioning, and 4 people lived in one room. When Lily came to the dormitory was 2 of the girls had arrived first and were chatting a little shyly. Several parents were preparing their beds for them. When they saw Lily coming in, the 2 girls sitting nearby and talking were all excited. They introduced themselves respectively. One was named Yang Li and the other was named Yu Xiaotian. The 2 came first because they chatted for a while, so they had a close relationship. They not only made an appointment to stay in bunk beds, but also made an appointment together to eat. Lily, let's go to dinner together as sisters later. For girls who have never met each other before, there is no way to get closer to each other faster than calling them sisters. Yang Li is a baby-faced girl. A cute girl with a slightly plump body, staring at Lily with a pair of big round eyes. Among the 3 people who came into the dormitory now, only Lily came to the school alone, when Yang Li opened her mouth to invite Lily. The middle-aged woman who was packing the bed for her didn't say anything, but turned around and looked at Lily. Just as Lily put her things in her own cabinet, another girl came in dragging a suitcase at the door. The girl is wearing an aqua blue chiffon dress. Wearing a string of crystal beads on her hands, her long black hair was tied into a ponytail and fell behind her head. When several people heard the sound of wheels rolling on the ground, they all subconsciously turned their heads to look. Lily also turned to look. The girl looked up and down at the dormitory room number. When she saw the faces of everyone in the dormitory, she took off her sunglasses and laughed. It seems that I'm the latest to arrive. My name is Chen Lele. As soon as she announced her name, Lily glanced at her several times and paused while she was putting on the pillowcase. Chen Lele is 17 years old this year, about a year younger than the original owner. She was supposed to be in her 3rd year of high school, but now she went straight to freshman year. Lily guessed that it was because she had been reborn and skipped a grade. Although she had accepted the general plot, Zhou Beihe also remembered seeing Chen Lele many years later, but at that time she only saw her from a distance. This time, Lily really looked at Chen Lele head-on. She unexpectedly, Feng Ning turned out to be his true destiny. He unexpectedly met him at this time, and not only were they in the same department, but they also became roommates in the same dormitory. It can be seen that Chen Lele comes from a wealthy family. Although the clothes she wears do not tell others what brand they are, she has the temperament of a spoiled daughter of a wealthy family. She is the same as Lily in the dormitory. Neither her parents came with her. A family like the Chen family should have been able to buy a house outside the school, but Chen Lele sneaked into the dormitory anyway. As soon as she entered the dormitory, she took out a lot of imported snacks and distributed them to the 2 girls. He quickly captured the hearts of 2 girls. Moreover, the parents who were packing their girls' luggage had a much better attitude towards Chen Lele. It can be seen that Chen Lele is very good at being a person. We will get along for 4 years in the future, which is considered fate. Let's go to dinner together later. I'm treating you today. Chen Lele put away his things. Because they had just eaten her snacks, the 2 little girls climbed onto her bed and packed her things. When it came to eating together, the 2 little girls were quite excited and agreed. Although Lily didn't want to get involved with Chen Lele, she also didn't want to appear to be independent. After all, she would stay in this dormitory for 4 years, so Chen Lele, when the invitation came, she agreed. The restaurant is located in a restaurant outside the school. The school has not officially opened yet. Management after college is not as strict as it was in high school. In addition, this is the #1 university in China, so the surrounding shops are much better than those in high school. The shops around the school were much more prosperous at that time. Several girls introduced themselves during the banquet. Lily also said a few basic information about Zhou Beihe. Chen Lele suddenly turned to Lily and smiled. "Lily, you are so beautiful. I wonder if you have a boyfriend? If not, I will help you introduce someone to you in the future." Chen Lele didn't know why, but she always felt that among the few girls, Lily was particularly interested in her. There was something about her that girls of this period did not have. She is calm, and because Chen Lele has experienced a rebirth, she died very tragically in her previous life, so her sixth sense is very strong. She inexplicably feels that she doesn't like Lily very much. In fact, Lily has done nothing. But she instinctively didn't like it. It was as if she had first seen the illegitimate daughter of her scumbag father in her previous life. It seemed that it would bring some losses to herself. There was no basis for it, but she just felt it. Yuya feels that way. But Lily is not that woman. For a girl from her family background, even if she hadn't been admitted to the school in advance, the two of them should not have interacted. Although Chen Lele felt that this sixth sense was inexplicable, she believed in it. My own hunch, so I still decided to go with my own feelings. Although there was a smile on her face and even her expression was well disguised, Lily could still see the coldness under Chen Lele's sweet smile. When Chen Lele asked this question, it hit the deepest point in the hearts of the girls. Out of curiosity, Yang Li and Yu Xiaotian couldn't help but looked at Lily curiously, with excitement on their faces. Their parents were stunned for a moment, and drank silently. Voice. There has been no contact for more than a year, but Lily remembered Fen Ning, who left and shouted, "My wife is waiting for him." In Lily's mind, the two had already broken up, but now she heard Chen Lele say that she wanted to introduce him to her. The object, she has not always paid attention to her appearance, but Zhou Beihe's appearance is indeed not bad. In addition, Lily has been adjusting her physical training skills for more than a year to exercise. Her body and posture are very beautiful, and her temperament is very good. Different from this group of innocent and lively girls, she is very conspicuous among the freshmen. During the admission procedures, several senior boys paid attention to her. In order to avoid these unnecessary troubles, Lily thought for a while and nodded. "Road. I have a boyfriend." As soon as these words were spoken, not only Chen Lele, but also the other two girls were surprised. The two people had excited expressions on their faces. Just as they were about to ask questions, Yang Li's parents pulled their daughter's arms. Chen Lele obviously did not expect to get such an answer. She bit her lips and tried hard to suppress the weird feeling in her heart, as if something belonging to her had been robbed. Chen Lele said again. "Then why didn't your boyfriend come to see you off when you entered school today? This is unqualified, a bad review. What does he do? How did you meet?" When Yu Xiaotian and Yang Li heard this, they both nodded. At this moment, they didn't even want to eat, they just stared at Lily. "I'm just a soldier. The rules may be strict and I can't get out. We were high school classmates before." Lily simply said a few words. In Chen Lele's heart, she understood that Lily's boyfriend was the one they met in high school, but it might be because her academic performance was not good after she fell in love, she gave up school and joined the army. Lily just mentioned her family background. Her family was very poor. I think her friend didn't even study anymore after graduating from high school and became a soldier. Her family background should be the same. Although Chen Lele doesn't want to look down on others now, Chen's father is also a famous jewelry merchant, so it seems that Lily's boyfriend has nothing to do with her, and her feeling just now must be just an illusion. Thinking of this, Chen Lele breathed a sigh of relief and laughed. "So that's it?" At the dinner table, she changed the topic to another direction. Yang Li and Yu Xiaoshan's parents felt something was wrong when they looked at Lily. In their hearts, Lily was just a girl who fell in love early and was from a poor family. They didn't want to let her daughter was dating her and was deeply afraid of being taught bad things by her. Sometimes at the dinner table, Yang Li and Yu Xiaotian wanted to ask about Lily's boyfriend, but the two parents changed the topic, and it was obvious that they were starting to. Lily was ignored. After dinner, when Chen Lele went to check out, she suggested singing. When asked if Lily would go, the two little girls looked calm, but their parents frowned and looked up and down with disgust. They looked at Lily several times, but because they were not the ones paying for the treat, these people said nothing. "I'm not going, you go ahead. I still have some things to sort out, so I'm going back to the dormitory first." Lily could naturally see the disgusted expressions of the two parents, smiled, rejected Chen Lele's invitation, and ate their food. One day she will have to invite guests back. She doesn't have much money in hand right now. Although the school rewarded her with some money after she was admitted to university, the remaining living expenses are not enough for Lily to eat and drink this year, not to mention that she still has to pay for next year's tuition. To make preparations, she wanted to find another part-time job so that she wouldn't want to owe anyone any favors. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 710. When Lily said she didn't want to play, the two parents were obviously relieved. Chen Lele didn't force any more. They parted ways here. Lily went back to the dormitory, took a book, read for a while, and practiced a few simple exercises. After doing the surgery, I took a shower early and lay down on the bed. Chen Lele and the others came back very late. When they came back, Yang Li was still singing. It was obvious that they had a very happy evening. Yang Li and Yu Xiaotian were surrounding Chen Lele and chattering with smiles. It was obvious that Chen Lele was generous tonight. The act of treating guests won over the hearts of these two roommates. From that day on, Lily obviously felt that she was being excluded by these three people. Among the three, Chen Lele is more scheming because she has been reborn. Although she doesn't like Lily inexplicably, she can endure it and usually won't say it out loud. Yang Li and Yu Xiaotian are younger, and they will show it on their faces when something happens. Their parents must have taught them that day that they should not stay with children like Lily who fall in love early and are poor and unwilling to study hard. After playing, they usually don't call Lily when talking, and the three of them hold hands when eating. Such behavior might be uncomfortable and scary for the real Lily, but Lily is not really 17 or 18 years old. Girl, so the actions of these girls did not affect her. After the university started classes, there was first a period of military training. The parents of the two girls in the dormitory were probably reluctant to let their daughters leave them all the way, so they planned to stay until the military training was completed before leaving. The few days of military training were excruciating. The sun was so strong that it made a group of girls dizzy every day. When they returned to the dormitory, they began to complain. Yang Li and Yu Xiaotian couldn't help but cry several times. After a period of military training, the two girls turned dark. When they were taking a shower and changing clothes at night, Yu Xiaotian took off his coat. Seeing that the sun had left a mark on her collar above her neck, she couldn't help but start to cry again. She picked up the phone and called her parents. "Lele, Zobei. Why are you two so white?" Yang Li sat in front of the table and looked at her face in the mirror. When she saw her tan skin, she couldn't help but lie on the table. Although they didn't cry like Yu Xiaotian, they were a little choked when they spoke. Chen Lele and Lily didn't get too tanned in the dormitory, but Chen Lele put on a lot of sunscreen every morning when she got up. Therefore, the sunburn on her skin was not serious. She still had a facial mask on her face at the moment. Lily didn't know whether it was because Lily's skin was naturally white or because of Lily's own attributes. She had been exposed to the sun for a while. I don't apply anything or do a facial mask, but apart from sweating a lot every day, my clothes still look white and fresh after taking a shower. Lily. I have a facial mask, do you want to use it? After hearing Yang Li's words, Chen Lele stood up and took out a few facial masks from his cabinet. The whitening mask I bought when I went abroad was very effective. Hearing the word going abroad, Yang Li and Yu Xiaotian both had a look of longing on their faces. They were from ordinary backgrounds. Coming to the imperial capital to go to university was already a long trip for them, so it took so long to start school. The parents are worried because they haven't returned to their hometown yet, let alone moving abroad. I also heard that Chen Lele's facial mask was for whitening. Little girls love beauty. I was a little excited at the moment, so I took it. Lele. My parents said thank you for taking care of me during this time, and want to treat you and Lily to dinner. Let's go together. After making the mask, Yu Xiaotian tore open the mask package and carefully attached it to on his face, he asked. Chen Lele couldn't help but glance at Lily. The main reason for her rebirth in this life was revenge. Lily was originally not helpful to her revenge plan and did not need to win over her. But since everyone lives in the same dormitory, they have to get along with each other in the future. In 4 years, if it was just something she did casually, she was not willing to offend someone to death, not to mention that as long as it was something that could be solved with money, it was no longer a problem for Chen Lele. She thought for a while, Lily, to come together, I'll treat you. Recently, Yang Li and his wife have squeezed Lily out a lot in the dormitory. They have divided Chen Lele into their small group. When she heard that Chen Lele was going to have dinner, she also invited Lily to go. Yu Xiaotian looked a little unhappy. It's so beautiful. The 18-year-old girl didn't know how to hide it. She hesitated for a while, and then said reluctantly after a while, then Zobei, let's go together too. My parents said they wanted to thank Lele and Lily take care of me. It felt like she had asked Lily to go to dinner together, as if she had been taken advantage of. Yu Xiaotian felt a little uncomfortable, but because the person speaking was Chen Lele, she had taken advantage of Chen Lele a lot these days. Chen Lele's family background wealthy, he shared many big-name foreign products with them without hesitation. He gave her and Yang Li skirts, perfumes, which both Xiaotian liked very much, and some skincare products. The girls couldn't resist such charm at all, and the relationship heated up. Soon, he spent money to treat Chen Lele to dinner, but Yu Xiaotian felt that he was willing to do so. As for Lily, because the original owner was from a poor background, she had been looking for a job recently and wanted to work part-time. She didn't have much money left in her hands and couldn't get it. Yu Xiaotian is naturally not willing to buy foreign skincare products to make a little girl happy and treat her to dinner for no reason. Before Lily could speak, the phone rang in the dormitory. After Yang Li picked it up, she glanced at Lily. "So Lily, it's for you." The call came from a nearby milk tea bar. Lily submitted her resume online and was going to apply for a part-time job. She notified Lily that she would go for an interview in an hour. Lily hung up the phone and glanced at Yu Xiaotian, who was pouting. "You go and eat." "I won't go. I have to go to an interview." Yu Xiaotian's expression softened a little, and Chen Lele stopped talking. Anyway, she had already offered her good intentions to Lily. As for whether Lily accepted it, she just had to do it, and with more attentiveness. Lily was born like this. The girl is not worth it. The girls had been dressing up in the dormitory for a long time. Chen Lele put on light makeup for the two of them. Lily also took a shower and changed her clothes. Then she followed the three of them out of the dormitory door. Yu Xiaotian and the others surrounded them. Chen Lele chirped as Lily walked aside alone. Just as she was leaving the main gate of the school, a Land Rover off-road vehicle rushed towards the school gate at lightning speed. It drove very fast. Most of the people leaving the school gate were she hurriedly dodged, and when the car stopped in front of the security booth at too fast speed, the skirt Yang Li was wearing was lifted up by the wind. "How arrogant," Yang Li muttered. She and Yu Xiaoshan's parents were waiting outside the school gate. The moment they saw a few people coming out of the dormitory, they came forward to greet them. Yang Li's mother heard as her daughter said. She cut her hair lovingly and glanced at the car without saying a word. Chen Lele took a look at it and said, "This is a car with a military license plate." She was of higher birth status among several people, and her license plate number, the flashing smooth numbers, made Chen Lele feel that the person driving the car might have an unusual identity, so he dared to drive like this in a place like Taito University. Lily also stepped aside. The car stopped, and the person in the security booth was about to. When the barrier was raised, the car did not move forward. Instead, the window suddenly dropped. The driver glanced this way, decisively turned the car around, and parked on the side of the road. The door of the cab was opened, and a young man wearing camouflage uniforms and high military boots strode towards the side. "Daughter-in-law." Lily's body stiffened, and she pretended not to hear and continued walking forward. Fen Ning had not been in contact for a year, and it was impossible to meet her at school. The person chasing behind saw her running, and then started to chase her. He came over. He ran very fast with his long legs. He caught up with Lily in a few steps. When they heard the footsteps and shouts, Chen Lele and others instinctively turned their heads to look. Before they could react, they saw Lily being killed. The young man who had just run off the off-road vehicle was hugged into his arms. His legs were in the air. The young man hugged her and spun her around, shouting daughter-in-law, daughter-in-law incessantly. "Put me down." More than a year has passed since the final exam of the second year of high school. Lily has not contacted Fen Ning for more than a year. In Lily's mind, she and Fen Ning have actually broken up. Although he told Chen Lele and others that he still had a boyfriend, the name was just to resist other people's chaotic pursuits. Unexpectedly, Fen Ning would appear again a year later. Lily was hugged tightly by him, and her face was covered in his clothes. He carried the smell of sweat and sunshine, and it filled her breath with Fen Ning's embrace. The force was stronger than a year ago, and his muscular chest could be felt through the clothes. Fen Ning didn't want to let her go, but seeing her face that was a little red from holding back, he reluctantly let her go and pulled her hand tightly into his arms. Over the past year, he had grown taller and stronger. It was much darker, and the lily had just reached below his shoulders. He straightened his hair, and his eyebrows were much less childish than a year ago, but the domineering aura was still there, and his thick eyebrows looked full of glory. Now Er was staring at Lily with a wide grin, and started to giggle a little as he looked at it. Lily's fingers were tightly clasped by him, and she struggled for several times but couldn't get away. She made an appointment to have an interview with someone from the milk tea bar. Originally, she was late when she called, and was delayed for a while before going out. If Lily had calculated it correctly, she arrived exactly 15 minutes early, but when she saw Fen Ning, she had a hunch that Fen Ning would not let her leave. To be continued. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 711. Daughter-in-law, do you miss my brother? I miss you so much. There are still people around, but Fen Ning's character is fearless. He doesn't feel embarrassed to say these words now, but he feels that the people around him, it was a bit annoying. He pulled Lily and wanted to go to the car. Lily struggled not to go. Her part-time job today was all in vain. But Fen Ning couldn't listen to her explanation. Seeing that she didn't want to go, she was a little anxious. His enthusiasm after meeting made Lily's indifference to see him even more obvious. They had been separated for more than a year, and during this period there was no news or contact. Fen Ning was not uneasy. Seeing Lily looking around looking for something to hold him back, he simply stopped her. He picked her up, dragged her into the car and fastened her seat belt. After a while, the car parked on the roadside drove away, leaving Chen Lele and others looking at each other. At this moment, everyone's hearts were shocked. Lily. Chen Lele ran for 2 steps. When she saw Fen Ning getting out of the car and saw the car he was driving clearly, Chen Lele felt like a big emptiness suddenly filled her heart. I wanted to chase after him and ask, but the car drove away. Yang Li and others were still young and didn't know what the license plate meant. They just instinctively felt that the car should be expensive when they saw it, but Yang Li and others Yu Xiaoshan's parents could feel the difference. They looked at each other with uncertain expressions on their faces. After being taken away by Fen Ning, the scheduled work at the milk tea bar was naturally ruined. Lily sighed, but Fen Ning was even more sad than her. The car stopped in a parking lot and found a place to eat, dragging Lily in. Asked for a private room, Fen Ning started to circle around Lily. You didn't answer my call. You weren't happy to see me at all. You didn't even say you missed me. Now you don't even have a ring on. When Fen Ning held hands with Lily before, he had already seen the rings on Lily's slender fingers. It's clean now. The couple's rings they bought last year have long since disappeared. Although the man shed tears, they were not sad. When Fen Ning saw this scene, his heart started to bleed, and when he saw Lily sitting leisurely on a chair drinking tea, he couldn't help but squat in front of her and stare at her. You're not wearing one either. Lily was horrified by his stare. His gaze was already somewhat oppressive even when he didn't speak. Plus, the look of hurt in his eyes now made Lily unable to calm down at all, pointing. Asked him. When he heard this, he reached out to unbutton his camouflage uniform. Seeing his appearance, Lily leaned back on the chair warily, thinking of Fen Ningtian's fearless character. She couldn't help but said, "What are you doing?" Fen Ning was originally a little angry when he saw Lily's look. He actually laughed out of anger. You know you're afraid. I have known Lily for such a long time, and Lily has always been indifferent. Whether it was from the time she agreed to be his girlfriend, or to the later relationship between the two, she was a little abnormally calm, so she seemed particularly naive. Fen Ning sometimes couldn't help but want to show his mature and steady side in front of her, so that she could act like a little girl in front of him, but every time he saw her, he couldn't help it. He didn't expect this. Lily became a little nervous for a while. Although she just frowned. She just raised her eyes and tilted her head to look at herself, but because she rarely showed such an expression, Fen Ning felt that it was very strange, so he deliberately scared her and leaned towards her. What do you think I want to do? His face got closer and closer. You could smell the scent of soap and shampoo mixed with Lily's body. Fen Ning just wanted to make trouble with her at first. In the end, her ears started to feel faintly hot again, and her face moved closer and closer to her. The girl's pink cheeks were flawless, and the pores were so fine that they were almost invisible. There was a light layer of down on her face, and her skin was so plump and clear that you didn't need to touch it. He could feel the invincible elasticity of youth. His eyes fell on Lily's lips. He remembered that he had touched them a year ago, and his mouth couldn't help but feel thirsty. He subconsciously wanted to stick to it, but Lily only looked at him. Staring at his lips and the way his Adam's apple slid up and down, he raised his hand and slapped him on the face to wake him up. For Fen Ning, this strength was no better than swatting mosquitoes. He was not pushed at all. The girl's hands were not calloused like his, but instead soft and comfortable, as if they were a little more delicate than his face. The slightly cold temperature felt good against her face. She pushed Fen Ning back. The little force was like massaging him. Fen Ning was reluctant to take Lily's hand away. Instead, he rubbed his face into her palm a few times. The stubble he had just shaved pricked her palm, which might be a little itchy. Lily wanted to retract her hand, but Fen Ning immediately grabbed her hand and pressed it hard. She was not allowed to pull away when it touched her face, and she unbuttoned her clothes with one hand. Did you see that? The buttons were unbuttoned, and there was a white vest underneath the camouflage uniform. A ring tied with a platinum chain was currently tied to the vest, close to his heart. Fen Ning dragged. He took Lily's hand and touched it. I can't wear it on my fingers anymore, I'm hanging here. The small silver ring was stained with his body temperature, and it was so hot that Lily's body temperature was slightly lower. The contrast became obvious when it touched him. He took Lily's hand and put it against his chest. This year he entered the military academy. Over time, Fen Ning has not only grown taller, but his figure has also become much stronger than before. Under the unbuttoned buttons, you can vaguely see the shadow of strong abdominal muscles. Under the lily palm is the place closest to his heart. His powerful Lily could feel her heartbeat through her skin. At first, Fen Ning just wanted to pull her to touch and see his ring, but now when Lily touched him, he felt something was wrong. He instinctively took Lily's hand and touched it against his chest. Go, not wanting her to leave, but also feeling that this touch was not enough, he subconsciously looked towards Lily, daughter-in-law. Okay, I'll put the ring on when I get back. Lily struggled to take her hand back, but Fen Ning easily hugged her into his arms. You said, I want to check. He originally wanted to buy a better one. It's not that Fen Ning couldn't afford it, but this pair of cheap silver rings was different in his mind. It represented the first time that he really wanted to trap Lily. She kept it in mind. He chose it carefully. For him, the rings of the couple had different meanings. He had seen Lily without a ring on her finger before. In fact, he felt a little cold in his heart. When he heard that Lily did not throw it away, but put it away, he breathed a sigh of relief. It is inevitable that some hands and feet will be used when hugging each other. Before the food was delivered, Fen Ning first touched Lily's head with her lips, and then she lost control. When Lily was ejected from Zhou Lily's body, Fen Ning's hand was seen reaching in the hem of clothes. Zhou Beihi's body was held in his arms like a child. It wasn't until the waiter who delivered the food rang the doorbell that Fen Ning gasped in dissatisfaction and licked Lily's earlobe like a puppy. Let her go. Lily returned to her body, with traces of coldness still on her ears, and the buttons on the back of her underwear and shirt were unbuttoned. She glared at Fen Ning, turned around and buttoned her underwear, and she knelt down on the sofa. The action of buttoning her bra caused her shirt to lift up. Exposing her slender and soft waist, Fen Ning moved his fingers again and almost jumped forward again. He raised his legs and stroked Lily's waist with his hands. Only then did he see the girl's dry ears. She was clean and didn't wear any jewelry. Although he had not noticed what other women dressed in jewelry looked like in the past, Lily's current look, which was only wearing her shirt and jeans, was too simple. In Fen Ning's mind, Fen Ning couldn't help but think that if Lily wore earrings, she would look better than others. But he thought of the scene when his lips touched her small ears just now. It was clean and refreshing, without any obstruction. If there was a hole in this beautiful earlobe, Fen Ning couldn't help but shudder. In the military academy, sometimes he would inevitably get injured during actual combat exercises, but he didn't feel any pain when he fell. He didn't think it had anything to do with the bleeding, but when he thought about Lily's ear being pierced, he felt a little unhappy. After thinking about it, he gave up his original idea of giving her earrings. When Lily fastened her underwear and turned around, she buttoned up the few shirt buttons that had been undone, and saw Fen Ning frowning with a serious look on his face, and the person who served the food was looking very discerning outside. After ringing the bell and standing for a while before coming in, Lily picked up her chopsticks and ate. Fen Ning peeked at her from time to time, biting the chopsticks in her mouth. He would see her giggling and sighing like a lunatic. Daughter-in-law, when we get married from now on, we will wear necklaces instead of earrings. I think earrings don't look good. He struggled for a long time, plucked his chopsticks in the bowl for a long time, and suddenly said something to Lily seriously. The two of them were at this moment. Before the horoscope was even written, Lily was still thinking about the love that would last forever, and Fen Ning had already thought about what jewelry he would wear when he got married in the future. He probably thought that he was thinking too far when he laughed from time to time, and Lily couldn't help but laugh. He got up, picked up the water glass, took a sip, and stared at Fen Ning. "What are you thinking about? I'm just a freshman. I may not necessarily work in the imperial capital after graduation. You should join the army after graduation. Who knows if you will meet a more suitable person in the future." Fen Ning Military Academy. After graduation, he will join the army according to the path arranged by the Feng family, and then be selected into the special forces because of his outstanding qualities in all aspects. In just a few years, it is impossible for him to have time to get married. When she first met Chen Lele and finally married her, she was almost 30 years old. Now Fen Ning was just 19 years old. She had already thought about getting married in the future. Lily sighed, and Fen Ning suddenly he became anxious. "The right person is you. Wife, the right person for you is only me. There is no one else. Work matters will be left in Beijing from now on. Your brother Ning will take care of it." He leaned his head over and reached out to grab Lily's hand. He rubbed it in his palm, and finally put her palm against his face and rubbed it. "You have to learn to trust, brother. I will solve it." Lily didn't say anything. It wasn't that she didn't believe Fen Ning, she just didn't believe in herself. After dinner, Fen Ning did not drive. Instead, he pulled her and started walking around on the street. Fen Ning chose a place with few people to walk. He didn't have much time to go home for vacation this time. The management in the military academy is strict and he usually doesn't. He had to use a mobile phone, so he didn't have much time to communicate with Lily. This time they finally met in person. He looked at Lily so hard that he couldn't bear to look away. It wasn't until it was already very late that the two of them turned towards Taito University. Direction: "I'll carry you." Fen Ning didn't want to drive her back, because that way the two of them would spend less time together. He wished that the road back to school was longer, but he didn't want Lily to walk back by herself. Last year Fen Ning still remembers the scene when he took her shopping and she was sweating on the tip of her nose and forehead. This is a treasure that he wants to treasure for the rest of his life. He wishes he could hold it in his hands and cherish it. Fen Ning half crouched in front of Lily, but Lily didn't want him to carry her and took 2 steps back. He jumped up to catch her, and finally caught Da Hung holding her in his arms, regardless of the eyes of others on the roadside. Fen Ning hugged someone and walked all the way without blushing or out of breath. The dormitory in the university was not as strict as in high school. When they returned to the dormitory downstairs, there were several couples who were also inseparable at the door of the dormitory. Fen Ning whispered to Lily, "Go back and charge your phone. I will find an opportunity to call you. Remember to put on the ring to let people know that you have a man. Don't let those boys without eyes harass you. Brother Ning will come back to check next time." He said for a long time. Lily's back was leaning against the wall outside the girls' dormitory building, with Fen Ning's palms on both sides of her cheeks. She seemed to be trapped in his world, and her breath was filled with his breath. As he spoke, his voice dropped. "Go down, I miss you very much," he whispered. His voice seemed to be in his mouth. Lily didn't hear something clearly, and looked up at him. He lowered his head, with a shy expression on his increasingly determined face. When Lily looked up at him, she seemed to be angry and lowered her head with her forehead. Touched her forehead. "Don't look." As soon as his forehead touched Lily, he didn't want to move his head away. Their foreheads and hearts touched, and his breath blew on Lily's cheek. Seeing that Lily had indeed closed her eyes, there was some regret. "No, you still have to look at me, you can only look at me." Young people who fall in love in their youth are all worried about gains and losses, and Lily feels a little helpless. Before his eyes opened obediently, his breathing came closer and closer. His lips trembled against the tip of her nose, and finally moved to her lips. Fen Ning originally didn't want to be separated from Lily tonight, but he had to go back to the military school tonight. He had spent more than a year in order to graduate early. In fact, he studied very hard in school. Recently, there have been plans to let him graduate early. He didn't tell Lily about his plan to join the army first, wanting to give her a surprise. The Feng family originally planned to let him walk on the road paved by the Feng family within 8 or 9 years, but Fen Ning planned to it would take at most 4 years. He was still young and had the energy to fight and fight. 4 years later, his life would be on the right track. Lily would just graduate from college. He would marry Lily at that time. He had thousands of fantasies in his mind. Hundreds of scenes would be presented one by him and placed in front of Lily. This time in the dormitory, Chen Lele and others had returned a long time ago, but Lily was the last to go back. The military training had just ended. These girls had already discussed early in the morning that they would have a good time to have fun and rest after the military training. When they went out before, these people were still talking about going out to sing and have fun all night long. Unexpectedly, it was not even 11 o'clock yet. Everyone was sitting in the dormitory, and it was rare that they were not chatting as usual. Lily replied when they arrived at the dormitory. Several people who had been lying quietly on their beds suddenly sat up. Chen Lele even couldn't wait to ask. Lily, are you back? Is that your boyfriend today? Lily, your boyfriend is so tall. Didn't you say that your boyfriend is just a soldier? Why does he have a car to drive? Is he driving for someone else? Yang Li asked again eagerly before Chen Lele could finish her words. After saying a word, Yu Xiaotian didn't say anything, but his expression was equally curious. Lily agreed, but before she could answer, Yang Li couldn't help but said, since he is your boyfriend, among the sisters in our dormitory, he can also be regarded as a sister-in-law, so what? God let him treat us to dinner. Yes, yes, let's get to know each other. Yu Xiaotian found the opportunity to answer and nodded. He is in the army. He will go back soon tonight. He may not be able to invite him to dinner. Lily also felt that there was some trouble in her heart. Fen Ning refused to let go and even mentioned marriage, which made Lily feel that she had originally thought about it. I'm afraid a breakup of a happy reunion won't work. I originally thought that the original owner's wish to have a love that has a beginning and an end is very simple. Lily's original plan was to only fall in love with Fen Ning for 2 months, and then go to the other side after they broke up. Later, he met his true love and embarked on his own mission. At this time, it seemed a little impossible. His initial thoughts had changed, and his future plans would naturally change as well. She thought that Fen Ning asked her to find the ring before leaving, and Lily opened her cabinet to look for it. Chen Lele, who lived in the bunk above her, was sitting blankly. Her long, smooth hair was not pinned up at the moment and was spread all over her body. Her expression was a little hesitant and she didn't know what she was thinking. When Yang Li heard Lily's words, her face became a little confused. Didn't you say that your boyfriend was a soldier? Today, Fen Ning came to pick up Lily and drove the car again. Yang Li's mother had told her in private that the off-road vehicle was very expensive. At first, Lily said her boyfriend is a soldier, and she herself is from a low background. They are high school classmates, so everyone naturally assumes that her boyfriend should have a similar family background to Lily. Maybe he has no money to go to college after finishing high school, or she was sent to the army by her family because of her poor grades and failed to pass the exam. No one thought that Lily's boyfriend might be a rich and handsome man. The image that emerged in everyone's mind was not a good one. But when I saw Fen Ning today, she was indeed wearing a camouflage uniform, but she was tall and strong. Although she had a shaved head, she carried an air of demeanor that was different from that of an ordinary boy. Yang Li thought about it now. A little jumpy. Fen Ning's background is not simple. There is no way to describe the temperament of a child raised in such a family. That kind of flamboyance, Yang Li feels that no boy in the class can compare with it. Even if he is the school sweetheart of the same department in the first grade, his face may be more handsome, but the feeling of the school sweetheart is incomparable to him. She always felt that Lily was lying when she said her boyfriend was a soldier. The little girl felt like she had been deceived, so her tone of voice was a bit complaining when she spoke. Lily didn't even look back. He is a soldier. That's not an ordinary soldier. I'm afraid a soldier can't afford that car, let alone that license plate without certain abilities. He may not even be able to get a good license plate number, let alone such an arrogant person. People can see the unusual license plate number wherever he goes. Chen Lele lowers his head, and his heart is in a mess. There is always a feeling that something that belongs to him is about to be snatched away. This feeling started from Fen Ning. She started calling Lily daughter-in-law when she appeared, so Chen Lele was a little absent-minded during the meal. Fortunately, Yang Li and others were stimulated, so no one at the dinner table noticed anything strange about her. On the contrary, everyone was lost. After eating, there was no intention to play anymore. Everyone returned to the dormitory and waited anxiously for Lily to come back. They wanted to ask her about her boyfriend, and the day seemed like a year. Chen Lele thought about it and found that she had indeed never met Fen Ning. She carefully recalled the memories of her previous life. At that time, many men in the upper class treated her like a plaything. Her body had been touched by many people. She thought about it carefully and recalled whether she had seen Fen Ning before, but it was true that she hadn't. She didn't even miss a single detail. After her rebirth, her memory was much better than in her previous life. She really couldn't remember that she had seen Fen Ning. If she had, she would never forget it. Once she saw a man as powerful as Fen Ning, she would never forget it. There was no way to forget it. She was very sure that she had never met Fen Ning, but she couldn't get rid of the feeling that when Fen Ning was someone else's boyfriend, she felt like someone had taken something away from her. Logically speaking, this feeling should be an illusion. I don't know Fen Ning. He is the boyfriend of the girl in the dormitory. I have no relationship with him. Even if it seems from the car he drives and the aura on his body, she has a good background, but it's okay for Yang Li and others to envy Lily. Chen Lele comes from a wealthy family. Her father is the largest jewelry merchant in Beijing. She herself grew up like a princess. How could she still feel like this? She is just not as good as Fen Ning, but she is not bad either. At most, she is envious that an ordinary girl like Lily can have such a boyfriend. At most, she is envious of her as a sparrow flying up a branch and becoming a phoenix, but why is she like this? Will you feel unwilling to do so soon? To be continued.